gonna restart this song real quick. I love this shit. Suno makes some good hardcore, bro. I don't know who all is but I'm kind of just chilling. I got some stuff to talk about.
When did we get to this point? Just quench. Rage builds high. Ashes fall from the blackened sky. When did we get to this point? Chaos reigning. No control. No choice. Screaming into the abyss. No voice. When did we get to this point? Whoa! Fractured earth. Blood runs cold. No escape from the lies we're told. Body still. It tastes like despair. Burn it all. Do you even break, shatter bones. No time to wait. Break. This is your final.
Hope y'all are doing alright tonight.
When did we get to this point? Chaos reigning. No control. No choice. Screaming into the abyss. No voice. When did we get to this point?
Alright, we got one more. Hold on. Check this one out. So this is pretty good. This reminds me of some old school shit.
Ripped apart, no salvation inside. Broken walls and we keep alive. Falling deeper into the void. When did we get to this point? Fist clenched. Rage builds high. Ashes fall from the blackened sky. When did we get to this point? Chaos reigning. No control. Screaming into the abyss. No voice. When did we get to this point?
Tuesday, New York is done.
No escape from the lies we're told. Lying still, it tastes like despair. Burn it all, do you even care? Break, shatter bones. No time to wait. Break. This is your violent fate.
Over. New York is so fucking cooked, dude.
Chaos reigning. No control. Screaming into the abyss. No voice. When did we get to this point? When did we get to this point?
What's up, Level 4 Lobster? Good to see you, bro. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm just jamming for a second, and we're gonna get into it, bro. All right. That's it. That's it. That's it. Hope you're doing well tonight, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Level 4 Lobster, my man. Thanks for being in chat, bro. Always good to see you. All right. So, I got a few things to go over while we're here tonight. Give me just a sec. All right. So, I wanted to start off with a little something that we can all have a good little giggle at. You know what I mean? This was some kids doing some trick-or-treating a couple nights ago. What's it, the second? Yeah, it was a couple nights ago. And I just thought this was cool, man. I thought this shit was funny. Check this out.
Right, stop.
They're all Secret Service, and that's Lil Trump, man. That shit's hilarious to me. All right. So, I got to be careful about pulling up that X feed, you know what I mean? Anyway, so, all right. So, this was something that the Department of War dropped the other day regarding Islam. Well, it was, yeah, Muslim terrorist groups in Nigeria. It's definitely something that we're going to be talking about quite a bit because just so y'all know, unfortunately, bro, New York City is cooked.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses,
as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever and ever.
forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
Absolutely based, bro. Absolutely based. Look, our Department of Defense requires us to act as if we are the last crusaders. Regardless of what you believe now. I'm dead serious. Seeing what's going on in Minneapolis and seeing what's going on in New York City, this has to start now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. It has to start fucking yesterday. That's where we're at in this country right now. So this is what Venezuela has to say. Amagad, what's going on, my brother? Good to see you, my man. Welcome in, dude. Always good to see you, bro. So this is what Venezuela has to say to us packing up all of our boats on the coast.
Se rinde el param pam pam, dime cuántos son y dime dónde están, porque no cruzan el río si está nadando el caimán. Al estilo caraqueño con 3 perros en una van, en cualquier parte del mundo los míos te abordarán. Underground, calle, forever, la velocidad de coche por el valle y por la vega. La Casonic, tengo el control, ahora domino el Sega, y si no tienen los esquiles en esta liga no juega. Desde la tierra de Perucho, Conde, Ardilla y Cancerbero. Desde la tierra de Miguel Cabrera y el Caballero.
Where'd they get all this equipment? Who sold this to them? Because, you know, fucking suspiciously, it seems as though they're using equipment that we've used in foreign wars, piloting vehicles that we've used in foreign wars, using tactics that we've used in foreign wars. Who sold them this? Who gave them these capabilities? Because this did not just come out of nowhere. This has been a long time coming. We're seeing the end game of a slow, gradual buildup of at least the past 20 years. Probably more. The Contras, that was in the 80s. What's going on down there since then? Is there no better time for us to squash opposition with these kind of, at the very least, propaganda tactics than right now? There is not. There is no better time. So, again, doing more riot coverage tonight. And it's not necessarily like covering the riots, just to showcase the kinds of things that I wish we would see more of. This says distressing content. It's really not that distressing. This is just watching somebody do their job. Immediately, he pulls out the George Floyd line. I can't breathe. But if you're looking here, this officer is not putting his weight anywhere near this guy's chest cavity. This is over off to the side. This is literally on the ground. Even if this leg was on top of him, this leg, just from basic physics, considering that it's lower, is going to take more of the center of gravity and the weight off of this officer. These are propaganda tactics people are pushing right now. The real question, and the question people don't want to ask, because they're going to act like this guy was just waving a sign around and protesting. They're not going to explain why he's in this position to begin with. So, if you couldn't hear that, this officer right here repeatedly said, "I will get off of you. Stop moving." And the guy continues to resist. And then he pulls his arm back and again, relatively calmly says, "Stop moving." So these people, they're not being attacked by police officers. They're not being punished. They are actively going against. What's going on, Big Soda? Good to see you, my man. Wine Mom Advocate. Right on, dude. Good to see you, my brother. Welcome in, dude. Thanks for being here. This officer continuously, over and over and over again, gives this guy a pathway to get out of the position that he's in, where he's screaming, "I can't breathe," which is bullshit, by the way. He's just pulling a Floyd. But he's doing that because he probably realizes that he's on camera. Because that's what they do. They don't pull the cameras out beforehand. They pull them out afterwards. And they catch the aftermath of what happens when they do this. Just spray her. What are you doing? The optics of all this I'm so over this optics game, right? This optics game that the police play. Just do your fucking job, okay? That's it. Do your job and move on. You don't have to play politics when you're in the middle of enforcing law. Enforce the law. Let the politicians do the politics. And they pick him up and they put him in the back of the car. Oh, and then he sits down like a baby.
Leave him alone! Why are you doing this? Leave him alone!
See, they're asking, why are you doing this? And they fucking know why. They know exactly why. All of these people know exactly what he did. They know exactly why he's being arrested. But they pulled their cameras out afterwards to get a video of them saying, why are you doing this? This is a tactic. This is orchestrated. And they know it's orchestrated. And they're going to continue to do it. And most people already understand this bullshit. Level-headed people do. But the people that are captured by this side of the aisle will constantly and always side with the person who's being arrested. Isn't that interesting? How we've gotten to this point in society where there are a group of people who, regardless of the precursor circumstances, no matter what they may be, even without knowing, they will immediately side with the person who is getting arrested. Let's just say a man walks into a house of 5 and brutally ends everybody in the house. Brutally. They have no ways of defending themselves. And they go into the house, and every single person in the house, they take their life. Every single person. And as they're running away, soaked in blood, they get arrested by police. And a group of people who are surrounding them take videos and ask the police, why are you doing this? That video alone is going to leave that question in the air, right? It's going to. But it's also to the fucking retards that live in this country. They're going to see that and think that the police were brutally assaulting somebody because they're being arrested and they're covered in blood and getting carted into the back of a police car. But no one understands what that person just did. It's the same concept. And they know it. They know it. And they will continue to do it. They will not stop. These people need to be defeated. Unequivocally. And again, when has telling law enforcement to leave them alone ever worked? It never has. It never has. But it gives the person who's going to see this video on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X, wherever it gets posted, they are going to instantly believe that that person is innocent because there's a group of people shouting at the police. Now, luckily, this hasn't caught on. luckily, they've already tarnished their name and their movement. It's not about supporting the criminal necessarily. It's about despising law enforcement. Correct. Yes. Yes. But the way that you do that is by making the criminal look like an innocent person. And that's the whole goal of all this. Why are you doing this? Leave him alone. They want to paint that guy that's on the ground right now as some innocent person who was doing nothing. But there's no context to what happened before all this. Did he attack police officers? Was he throwing shit at their car? We don't know. But the people in the crowd are always going to take his side. You cannot trust them. And they know why they say what they say. They know it. See, you're touching him. You're touching him. That dude just ran up and put his hands on police officers. Do you see, like, this is not a conspiracy theory mindset here. We're watching the manipulation of information happen right in front of our faces. None of this is orchestrated. No, Amagad, it's not that they care about the innocence. They want to paint the person on the ground as innocent. That's why they leave the context out. That's why the only context we get is that person being arrested and people screaming, "Why are you doing this?" Exactly, yeah, it's a victim oppressor thing. 100%. But they're screaming, "Why are you doing this? Leave him alone," with no context as to why this person's being arrested. None. Whatsoever. We don't know what happened. He could have thrown a brick at a fucking cop car. And they would still shout the exact same thing. Correct, Amagad. They're controlling the narrative. That's what they want to do. That's what the whole goal is. Anyone who sees this video will not see the context behind it. And the people who already have a proclivity against law enforcement, is going to deepen that inside of them. That's why where I'm at today, and you see they all have body cams. So you, like, everything that happened that led up to this is all on video. That's why we're not seeing these big court cases of police brutality or anything in America. Because everything that happened beforehand is on video. But they're trying to push a narrative onto these fucking retards that live in this country. That people are being abused by police. People are doing things that are not a big deal, or they're not doing anything at all, and they're just being abused by police. Why do you think there aren't, like, mass court cases against these cops? Because they have the full video. Every second of the engagement, not just the arrest, are being put onto video. Every single second. This is all just to manipulate hearts and minds. That's all it is. That's what they want. They want the majority of people on their side, and it's not working. And thank God it's not working. Because they already sullied this whole movement. They already sullied all of these. We are essentially in a propaganda war at this point. Yes, correct. 100%. Yes. Charlie? He's just being a turd. He wants attention. That's all it is. I just tell him to stop, and that's all. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. But that's it. Right now, what we are facing in this country, there is one group of people who are enforcing laws that have been in the books forever, and there's another group of people who want to paint those folks as Nazis. That's what we are facing right now. So all these videos that come out, when they start as someone's being arrested, always ask the question, what led to this point? And I'm not talking about Trump's election. I'm talking about in that specific engagement. What led to this point? Why are they being arrested? Why are they not rounding up fucking busloads of people? Which, in my opinion, they should be. They should be carting these people to send them all to Alligator Alcatraz. Honestly. Send them to the harshest prison you possibly can with the harshest sentence you possibly can. Because sentencing for crimes, and I think like people, we've kind of grown past this idea that the justice system is a rehabilitation program, right? It's not. There's a reason why people go in, come out, and then go back in. Justice in this country is to keep the people who don't need to go to prison, who don't get sentenced to go to prison, who don't commit crimes. It's to keep them and the people who do commit crimes and who do need to go to prison separate. That's it. We need a functional society in this country. That's why I'm totally pro law enforcement. There are people in this country who do not need to be in the general society. What happens to them after they commit their crimes, and this may sound cold, it's none of my business. As long as they're out of our society. And that should be the point of prison. The point of prison should not be for rehabilitation. If someone gets rehabilitated in prison and they realize, I don't want to spend the rest of my life here, and I'll change everything that I do when I get out, I'm going to get my life straight, fantastic. And I genuinely hope those people the very best, right? I've spent time incarcerated, wasn't in prison, it was in county jail. And I spent quite a while there too. I don't want to go back. You know what I mean?
You're punching him! You're punching him!
I mean, that's really it, right? There's really nothing else to say about that subject. I'm just sick of all of these perpetual victims that are. We're gonna go to the Matt Walsh post, and then we'll go into what Slamdani had to say. So, New York City is fucking cooked, by the way. Okay. New York City is fucking cooked. It says, while conservatives rip each other to shreds, an Islamic communist is about to take over the biggest and most important city in our country. and a far less Somali con artist is about to take over one of the largest cities in the American heartland. But yeah, let's focus on gossip and drama. It's not like our country is in the middle of a hostile foreign invasion as we speak. You know what? Look, y'all know how I feel about Israel, right? I think we have more pressing matters to attend to because, and this is a zoom out scenario, if the Americans are fighting the Israeli shills, that's one thing. But if the Americans are fighting the Israeli shills who are fighting Muslims and Americans, and they're fighting Muslims who are fighting Israeli shills and Americans, then we have a serious issue. And I'm not siding with Israeli shills here. I'm just saying. Look at what's been happening in Europe. This is not new. This has been going on for a while. So all I have to say about this, and it's very, very simple, one thing at a time. Fuck Israel, but fuck Islam as well. At the very fucking least, okay? At the very least. Fuck both of them. But we have to take it one thing at a time. Ag, what's going on, dude? Good to see you, my man. Welcome in, bro. Thanks for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. Look at this fucking cunt. Why are you people suddenly antagonizing Muslims and trying to push Muslims to the left? They already vote left. They're voting left and they're not voting conservative for one specific reason. You know what that is? It's because the left are willing to do whatever they can, bend over forwards, and spread their ass cheeks for people in Islam. They don't need to fuck goats. They have leftists now. So let's just be honest about what's going on here. Okay? We all saw the video of that leftist, like, English guy going, "Come on, bro, there's no need for that. We're on the same side." And then one of the Muslim people that's marching through the streets says, "No, we're not." And then the leftist English dude goes, "Yes, we are, bro. Yes, we are." That's what's happening in Europe right fucking now. Right now. It's not what's going to happen. It's not what people think might happen. It's happening right now. The only thing pushing Muslims to the left is the left's capacity to tolerate everything they want out of a fear of being intolerant. And it's so funny how they are the ones who have the theory of the paradox of intolerance, right? They say, if we tolerate the right, oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just riffing. I appreciate it. Not one step back. Thanks, bro. Thank you, man. Yeah. But they have the theory that if we tolerate the right, then we're going to tolerate Nazis because that's what happened in Germany, right? All the while, these fucking retards are willing to tolerate Islam and Sharia law. Like they're any different. let's not forget, when Hitler had the conquering of northern Africa in World War II, there were Muslim Nazis. Let's not forget that. You think they were Christians? You think he gave a fuck about any of them people? Like what their religion was? No. They were supplying for the machine that he had built. The machine that he had printed tons of fake money for and overinflated the currency. And they were passing resources back to Germany. All the while he gave them military equipment. And what have we done over in the Middle East? Especially back in 2021. Billions of dollars of military equipment. Just handed over. So, I'm kind of done with the you're an Islamophobe, yada yada. The left now are a fucking joke. They're weak. They are totally willing to let they have been manipulated into a position where they hate their own country, and then they'll listen to these scumbags who will lie to their faces to get them to convert over to their religion, to their value structure, everything. And it's so funny, you know, in America, these stupid motherfuckers have the ability to go out into the streets and protest and talk about rights and shit. They are going to be the ones who are put up against the wall. The people who don't fight, who capitulate to power, those are going to be the people left on their side. Because we fight. But we don't fight for them. We are the power. We are in favor of a system that breeds more civilized society. We are the West. But the left is not the West. The left is not the West anymore. The left is a pattern of self-destruction for a country. It used to be a left that loved America. It used to be a party of people who would genuinely care about everyone in the country. And it is no longer that. The left now currently only cares about those things that breed their own destruction. Transing kids. Welcome in every Muslim. Welcome in all the drugs. There has never been any point in time in history when anything that they stand for works. None. Never once in fucking history. They have nothing to reference back to. And that's why they say, well, when they did it, it didn't work. It wasn't the real thing. That's what they say. That's their excuse. They did it wrong. It'll never work. Outlined, and I hate... bite my tongue when I say this, but it's just true. We were outlined in the Old Testament on how to run a society, but we were outlined in a New Testament how to act in society. Old Testament was the building blocks. The New Testament is the refined piece. And it works. The second you stray from it, you turn into Sweden, the UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Finland. Somehow fucking Poland got it right. We cannot let these people take over the West. They want the destruction of it. And they've done such a good job at infiltrating our culture that people who bathe in the glory and rewards of the West damn its existence. We can get rid of them too. Honestly, that's where I'm at. I'm kind of sick of this concept of, well, we're all Americans. I'm kind of sick of that. Really. I don't care if you're an American. If you fucking vote to destroy this country, you need to get out. We're not a democracy. Never have been. For God's sake, I hope we never are. There's the illusion of democracy. This isn't a fucking democracy. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. So, Slum Donnie, he shows up at a gay bar in New York City at 1 a.m. this morning. And like, it's like the Pied Piper shit, dude. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Are we ready to beat Andrew Cuomo? Are we ready to win a city we can afford? Are we ready to make history? Let's go out there and do it. Thank you, my friends.
What up, Are We Not, man? Good to see you, bro. Welcome in, dude. Welcome in. See, and this is just a bunch of that, like, they'll vote for him just because he has brown skin. And a lot of others, they'll vote for him because he says he's socialist. Claims it. He's not actually. Just wait until he gets into power. Like, do people actually think Islam is like a socialism construct? Look at Saudi Arabia. The Saudi families, the people in charge of everything, are the richest people in the fucking world, aside from whoever owns the banks, whether it's the Rothschilds or whoever. They're fucking trillionaires. Do people are people actually under this illusion? Muhammad was not a socialist. Muhammad took power, killed people for power, invaded entire countries, and had people fucking their relatives so he could have enough retards to throw into the fucking meat grinder. That's literally what he did. And he was a pedophile. So, like, I don't want to hear anything I'm really done with the left. I'm serious. I'm really fucking done with these people's beliefs. They're trash. They're fucking garbage. This is who they're going to vote for. And see, remember, when they voted for John Fetterman, they were all behind him, and they rallied behind him because anyone who was against John Fetterman, you're an ableist. That's what his fucking leftist bitch wife used to say. Well, he's divorcing her now because he's on like a reasonable train for a Democrat. And he's not even like right wing, bro. He's actually left wing. Granted, he's a wall kisser. So, like, you know, we can give that time. Okay? But it's just, it's insane to me that there are literally videos of these, like, these slums throwing off of buildings and they're gonna vote him into office. He's at a gay bar right now. What the fuck is going on? This is clown world. Okay. So I'm gonna get back into the shutdown. Not necessarily because it's super interesting. I want to give like my biggest take on this, okay? My life has not been affected by this shutdown at all. I'll be honest. More people are going out to the bar now than they have ever before. So, my life's gotten better since the government shut down. As far as I'm concerned, I hope the motherfucker stays shut down, okay? I don't want the government to open back up. No one goes to my bar with an EBT card. You can't buy shit, okay? I'm just being honest with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially day number 32 of the ongoing government shutdown, and we just got a report indicating exactly when this shutdown is going to come to an end and how exactly the Democrats are going to try to weasel their way out of it. Now, of course, as all of you know, this shutdown has been entirely manufactured by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in an effort to undermine President Trump's America First agenda. However, unfortunately for them, their entire plan has completely backfired because as things currently stand, right around 67% of Americans nationwide actually blame the Democrats for the shutdown and want them to put an end to it immediately. And so this is why it seems as if Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are currently looking for a way out. Take a look.
So now what the Democrats are literally telling us this, they plan on open it back up probably Wednesday or Thursday after the election, after they elect a communist in New York to be the mayor, after the New Jersey's gubernatorial race, after Virginia's governor's race. They're going to come out. They're going to look for an exit ramp because they know they're losing. Shoot, even CNN's polls are showing that this isn't good for them. The American people have already been exposed to, Congresswoman Clark by saying that this is a leverage point for them. You had Chuck Schumer say every day's getting better for them. You had Senator Coons from Delaware goes out and says it's uncomfortable, but it's a leverage point. And even Bernie Sanders goes out and says they can't open it back up because they lose leverage. But they also know they need an exit ramp. So after the election, Kellyanne, they're going to come out, and at that point, they're going to go out there and rail that they're going to take the high road. They're going to try spinning it on President Trump and the Republicans. And after they get done talking their way out of, I don't know, themselves, they're going to eventually open it up probably Thursday, I'd say midday.
And so, folks, as it would seem, that is currently the Democrats' plan. They thought that they would be able to shut down the government and hold the nation hostage in an effort to undermine President Trump just like they did in December of 2018, if you all remember, and not have it reflect negatively on their national approval ratings. That being said, things are very clearly different this time around. We, the American people, aren't asleep at the wheel anymore. We're all wide awake, and we know exactly what type of games the Democrats are playing, and we are not going to go along with it this time. We all know that the Democrats are actively trying to extort $1.5 trillion out of all of us hardworking federal taxpayers in order to pay for the healthcare costs of a bunch of illegal aliens that shouldn't even be here in the first place, and guess what? We're not going to tolerate it. But you know what? Yesterday afternoon, none other than Elon Musk actually made an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast to talk about this very issue. Take a look.
The reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave.
No one can deny how easy it is to manipulate this system. But this is exactly what I've been saying this entire time. How we don't know how many people are actually citizens that are on these benefits. We don't. And no one will deny how easy it is to manipulate this system. No one can deny it. It's very easy. If I was on government, I could get on government benefits. I don't, though. And that's not because I'm such a principled man. I have an ego problem. That's all it is, right? Seriously. I have way too big of an ego to suck money off of a government that I fucking hate. That's all it is. Okay? Some people may do it out of principle, whatever. It's not principle for me. It's ego. I'll say that for the rest of my life, right? I want to pay my way. And trust me, I could use the money. I just don't do it. We don't know how many people that are on our benefits that I pay fucking taxes into are actually citizens in this country. And I really desperately hope we can utilize these systems to get these people the fuck out.
Because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters. The Democratic Party will lose a lot.
I don't think it's about votes. Like, yes, we already know there are people who are not citizens that are voting. That's proven, right? We can't prove hundreds of thousands or anything, but we can prove thousands, which is bad enough as it is. The issue is the congressional power that lies within how many of these people are illegal within each state. And that's why I'm dead set on the idea that within the next 4 years, 3 years now, whatever, we are going to see a snap census. We're going to see a census after they've deported a shitload of folks. Because notice, they're not in Birmingham, right? They might be in Memphis. Memphis is a crime-ridden city, but that's not ICE. That's just the National Guard stopping crime. They're in Chicago, LA, talking about San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. They're in the blue states getting rid of these illegals. And then just a luxurious byproduct of that is all the fucking losers that they arrest that are out there voting Democrat, they go to jail. And guess what you don't get when you're in jail? You don't get a fucking ballot. So they need to go to fucking New York City right now. And they need to start throwing people behind bars. Does that sound a little extreme? Probably is. But I'm tired of this shit. Like, you have power now. And you need to utilize it. Because you know what's going to happen if they don't? The other side's going to win eventually. And the other side's going to use that power the way you chose not to. They already fucking have. Who set the precedent? Was it us? No. It sure as fuck wasn't. So spare me the fucking pearl clutching of throwing these fucking in jail, okay? Spare me the pearl clutching. They wanted to call us the authoritarians and everything. Let's fucking show them what authoritarianism is.
For voters.
And they would have a very difficult job if this is kicked out of reintroducing it into a new bill.
Yes.
Especially once things start normalizing.
Yes. So, like, in a nutshell, the Democratic Party wants to destroy democracy by importing voters. And the Republican Party disagrees with that.
And the ruse is that if you don't accept what they're doing, then you're a threat to democracy.
Yes.
As they try to destroy democracy.
Yes.
By importing voters.
Yes.
That is
and
literally what they're
incentivizing
doing.
people to only vote for them. And overwhelming the system.
Yes. And by the way, it's a strategy that, if allowed to work, would work. And in fact, has worked. California is supermajority Democrat.
Yeah.
And there's so much gerrymandering that occurs. It's crazy.
And of course, Elon Musk is correct about all of that. It is absolutely crazy. Folks, as a quick little historical reminder here, both Aristotle and Plato, 24.
The easiest way to end all this, seriously, if you want the easiest way to end all of this, kill the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Or 1964. Whatever, whichever one it is. And federalize the House districts. It's that easy. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
400 years ago, determined that you cannot have a functioning democracy, let alone a functioning republic, unless everyone in your society has a shared sense of culture, identity, and national investment. That is to say, if you've got hundreds or even thousands of different ethnic or cultural groups inside of your society isn't going to last very long. And the reason why is because all of those different groups are going to constantly be at odds with one another, and before you know it, the entire system is going to collapse in on itself. So pretty much, diversity is not only not
Corey, you still here?
our strength, really, it's one of our biggest weaknesses. And this reality has been well known for over 2,000 years, and it was most certainly known to our founding fathers when they built this country in the first place 250 years ago. And so back to Elon Musk's point about the Democrats actively trying to destroy the American Republic, he's absolutely right. The Democrats know that if they want to destroy our country, and they do, perhaps the single best way to do so is to import tens of millions of incompatible immigrants from the third world, which is exactly what they're hellbent on doing. Now, Elon Musk actually went on to better explain this entire situation, but before we take a look at that, I do want to say real quick that if you folks enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a lot. But okay. Check this out.
The Democrats mention the medical care because they're trying to prey on people's empathy as much as possible, and then they imagine, oh wow, somebody has a desperately needed medical procedure, and shouldn't we maybe take care of them in that regard? But what they do is they divert the Medicaid funds and turn it into a slush fund for the states that goes well beyond emergency medical care. And New York and California would be bankrupt without the massive fraudulent federal payments that go to those states to pay for illegals, to create a massive financial incentive for illegals.
How would they be bankrupt because of that?
They wouldn't be able to balance their state budgets, and they can't issue currency like the Federal Reserve can.
So, folks, what do you say we really break all of that down? Not only are the Democrats actively trying to replace all of us legitimate Americans with tens of millions of third world immigrants, but they're also running a racket, ultimately scamming hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars, out of the federal government at the same time. Really, when you stop and think about it, pretty much the Democrats are trying to run an exit scam on the United States of America. Scam the federal government, and really that's all of us federal taxpayers, make as much money as they can in the process, and then burn down the entire country to make sure that there's no one left to hold all of them accountable.
And before that happens, you pull all of your investments out of your domestic markets and you place them into foreign markets, and there you instantly secure your wealth. It's that fucking simple. And they're willing to do it. These people don't give a fuck about the folks that live in this country, about the folks that work in this country. They don't care. There's no incentive basis for them. That's why anyone who works in a service position in this country should be barred, have all of their stock investments liquidated, and their ability to trade on the stock market frozen for 10 years after they get out of their service position. There should be no fiscal incentive for them. None. Zero. At all. Bottom line. That's where I'm at with it.
Folks, if all of us hadn't elected President Trump in the 2024 election, that's the exact position that all of us and the United States of America would be in right this very moment. Even the most conservative estimates suggest that 25 million illegal aliens came flooding into this country during the very short 4-year-long Biden era. And keep in mind, he was just getting going. Imagine if Biden or, God forbid, Kamala Harris were in the White House right this very moment. The southern border would still be open right this very moment, and there would be well over 10,000 illegal aliens flooding into this country every single day. And so, as things seem right now, because...
Correct, Amagad. It should be a sacrifice. It should be the same level of sacrifice you look at when you get into the military. Every moment that you serve should be service to others, not fucking self-service. And that's what our Congress has become. Republican and Democrat. There are people in Congress worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Go fuck yourself. I don't care how long you've been in. Nobody should make that much money in our Congress.
Because well over 2/3 of Americans nationwide are correctly blaming the Democrats for this ongoing government shutdown, their plan is to officially bring this shutdown to an end after this upcoming week's elections. But still, the question remains, why did they even manufacture...
Fucking deport the dude. Apparently he lied on his forms. Get him out. If he lied on his forms, get him the fuck out. We're going to see what happens in New York City. That's going to be a true testament of the future. Seriously.
For this entire shutdown in the first place? Well, I think at this point, we all know the answer to that question. It's because in every single sense of the word, the Democrats absolutely hate the United States of America, but even worse, they hate all of us, actual Americans.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Here's your meme of the day, brought to you by FiveMind.com. I guess the question to start off this video is, how much more evidence do people need? How much more evidence of blatant hypocrisy and slimy political gamesmanship from Democrats is needed for people to start seeing the truth? It's crazy to think. I mean, the pandemic, I guess, wasn't eye-opening enough. Well, now are you guys paying attention? Are you starting to put two and two together, starting to connect the frickin' dots here? It's another prime example. The Democrats, they claim to care about the little guy. Oh, the little guy. Yet here they are, once again, grandstanding, engaging in this twisted kind of political manipulation tactic, voting to cause you pain. Also that they can create this massive psyop narrative against the president. Kind of reminds you of the pandemic now, doesn't it? Yeah, obviously they don't care about the little guy. You're simply a pawn, a tool to be used, to be wielded as a political weapon. And this shutdown is just their latest little extortion scheme. Inflict pain, spin the narrative, and hope that it boosts their numbers. That seems to be the
Good luck feeding your families. Hey, by the way, it's the other party's fault. That's the entire thing with this. Bet you like them benefits, huh? Vote for us. Bet you like not having to go to work. Bet you like free food. Better vote for us. Bet you like us trying to censor people that say things you don't like. Bet you like not having to get up off of your ass, start a business, and do something productive in society. Better vote for us.
strategy here. And again, the macro narrative, what's becoming more and more painfully obvious is that Democrats are power obsessed. They're frauds. They're absolute hypocrites. They'll advocate against shutdowns when it's politically convenient, but then they're totally willing to cause enormous damage, engage in shutdowns, the moment they view it as leverage for their narrative. And while it seems like this is a mask-off moment, we're getting more potential insight into what the Democrat strategy is here. We got Senator Markwayne Mullins dropping an absolute bombshell. Apparently, he knows when the Democrats are going to call an end to this shutdown. He's now making the prediction that the shutdown ends on Wednesday or Thursday, right after a couple key Democrat elections. So again, it shows you the thinking, right? From no kings to now this, it's all purposely orchestrated. They probably even did it on purpose when they passed legislation on the Obamacare subsidies, causing them to expire in 2026, right during a midterm election. I think they're doing it on purpose. It's calculated to have an issue going into the midterms. Political blackmail and hostage taking. This is the Democrat Party. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's tear into this absolute DNC scam. We got a revelation here. We've got Markwayne Mullins, as I said, dropping a bomb. Take a look.
After they went to the rally, they realized that their base was only more dug in. So now what the Democrats are literally telling us this, they plan on open it back up probably Wednesday or Thursday after the election, already. After they elect a communist in New York to be the mayor, after the New Jersey's gubernatorial race, after Virginia's governor's race. They're going to come out, they're going to look for an exit ramp because they know they're losing. And shoot, even CNN's polls are showing that this isn't good for them. The American people have already been exposed to Congresswoman Clark by saying that this is a leverage point for them. You had Chuck Schumer say every day's getting better for them. You had Senator Coons from Delaware goes out and says it's uncomfortable, but it's a leverage point. And even Bernie Sanders goes out and says they can't open it back up because they lose leverage. But they also know they need an exit ramp. So after the election, Kellyanne, they're going to come out, and at that point, they're going to go out there and rail that they're going to take the high road. They're going to try spinning it on President Trump and the Republicans. And after they get done talking their way out of, I don't know, themselves, they're going to eventually open it up probably Thursday, I'd say midday.
So he's now telling us, based on his information from behind the scenes in the Senate, the Democrats are now plotting to reopen the government on Wednesday or Thursday right after a couple key elections. Quote, they're telling us the plan is to reopen probably Wednesday or Thursday right after the election, after they elect a communist in New York City to be the mayor. They're going to take the high road and spin it on President Trump. I mean, holy moly. This proves that it's all a political stunt from No Kings to this. The way they're timing it. They want to time it right at the end of an election. Probably so they can assess the pain, right? Or at least, maybe, depending on how things go, they're going to attempt to spin it against the president. It's all calculated.
Yeah.
It's calculated cruelty. Using
And there's people that are going to fucking buy that. Most people won't. You know? There are people who are going to buy it. And those people were never going to be swayed in any other direction anyway. Let's just be honest. So it's very, to me, it's, I think Level 4 Lobster was right. It was a motivation tactic. It got the people out that they needed to vote. But at the end of the day, it's not going to help them in the long term. It's short-term W's. And that's it. I mean, I'm grateful that it's not going to be long-term W's.
the suffering that they're causing with this shutdown as a way to kind of gauge the polls, get a real understanding of how their cynical strategies are working. I mean, clearly that seems to be the intent. Chuck Schumer isn't necessarily even hiding that. He claims that this shutdown gets better for them each and every single day, which actually Democrats are being grilled on in the media.
When you hear Senator Schumer say that this shutdown is getting better politically every day for Democrats, I wonder if you agree, given that some 40 million people are about to lose food assistance.
Well, first, let me be clear. I don't favor or enjoy any government shutdown. Sadly, I've been through a number of them now, as have the American people. There's real pain out there. No other country in Western society even has the concept of a government shutdown. We've only had them for the last 50 years. I think they do enormous damage. They end up being more costly in the end. They should be done away with.
Notice how he gave a total non-answer, right? And I find it funny he doesn't denounce what Chuck Schumer is saying, but then in the same breath says shutdowns do an enormous amount of damage and they should be done away with as he continues to vote for more shutdowns. It gives you an insight into what the Democrats are doing right now. They're just riding this out. They're putting their heads down. They understand that they're doing damage, but they're holding out until November. They want to crunch the numbers after the fact. Then they'll decide, I guess. If all the elections go really well for them, then all of a sudden, turns out we do have some leverage, right? Or what happens if they lose? What happens if Jack Ciattarelli overperforms tremendously in that election? What happens if he comes up with a upset victory against the Democrat that he's currently running against? What happens if Democrats lose ground as they've been losing ground in all of these areas? What happens if all the key elections on that day shift rightward tremendously? What are Democrats going to do? Do they panic and then reopen the government immediately and try to deflect? Do they cling on and continue the disaster? It's mind-blowing that, we're even considering these factors, inflicting widespread harm across the country so Democrats can get an idea, assess what's going on. Just like what happened with the No Kings. I gotta tell you, we've been watching Democrats flail and move the goalposts and panic post-No Kings rally. But what would have happened if the No Kings psyop was massively successful? Would Democrats be doubling down right now? Everything is a cynical little calculation. They're playing games with the American people's suffering, and the evidence continues to point to that. All while they claim to be advocating for the peoples, right? Ooh, those in need, the most vulnerable. They're using you as hostages. And even when met face on with the pain that they're causing, you could tell they couldn't care less.
We've been speaking to people impacted by the shutdown on this program almost every day, from government workers and SNAP recipients to people who rely on the Affordable Care Act subsidies Democrats want expanded. I've asked every one of them what their message is to politicians here in Washington as this partisan standoff continues. Let's listen.
You guys should both to come to whatever consensus that needs to be done in order to put the American people first.
You really didn't think this through very well. You really didn't. You all get paid. We don't. We're counting on that. And you took it away.
I want everyone to do their job. Do what they have us doing. Our job. Unpaid. Because at least they receiving a paycheck. And their families aren't affected by this. Ours are.
What do you say to them?
Yeah, because they don't give a fuck about you. And they never did. You're a slogan for a campaign. That's it. People who vote for Democrats based on what Democrats say they're going to do, you are nothing but a slogan for a campaign. And until you realize that, they will utilize you to get what they want in this fashion every single time. If you have not fucking realized that, you never will.
Also, the argument members of Congress are getting paid during the shutdown while they're not getting paid.
Well, I agree entirely with all of it.
You got folks in some really tough situations right now, and the Democrats don't even care. Now, they're collecting their payments. And by the way, that seems to be a talking point that's really sticking with a lot of these people, which is what I was saying last week, right? I think Republicans are doing a great job spreading that message, trying to pass a bill that would stop congressional pay when governments are shut down. Well, it seems like a lot of people are picking up on that, and they're saying, hey, you know, that's not fair. We have to suffer. What about you? You claim to be standing in solidarity with us, but we're the ones taking pain, not you. What's the end game here? Forcing desperation? Betting that, you know, people will vote your way if you cause them pain? How does that work exactly? How does hurting people build political support? I think it's a backwards strategy. Again, it's like...
I mean, like, let's be real. Do you think that's the only money these people make? You think their $2,000 a week is really all they make? $4,000, sorry. They make like $200 and some $1,000 a year. So they make like $4,000 a week, right?
Ransom, right? Vote for us, or else we'll take things away from you. I don't know, I just can't wrap my head around it. In my personal opinion, I'm forecasting a fierce disaster for Democrats coming up in this election in a couple days here. I think what they're doing is not igniting, not galvanizing their base. I think they're igniting dissent, opposition. I think Jack Ciattarelli, he really might shock the world here. And then we're really going to see what the Democrats are up to. We'll see just how far they're willing to take this, because again, if they lose massively, if they flop big time in this upcoming election, well, how they react is going to tell us all that we need to know. If they continue to double down, if they throw a little tantrum, a little hissy fit, that's going to reveal the ugly frickin' truth of just how heartless this political party is. I guess at this point, we have nothing else to do except for wait till, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, midday. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the next Democrat psyop is going to be. If they take massive losses, how are they going to spin it? I mean, how could they possibly blame Trump in that situation? I guess we'll have to see, you know. Nothing ever surprises me with Democrats. The depths that they're willing to go to manipulate the narrative. Let's see what the next desperation psyop has for us. See what they got in store. I guess just stay tuned. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
I'm still not completely convinced that there are people who are not, like, actively trying to destroy the Democrat Party from within the Democrat Party. There's people who think that Chuck Schumer is completely turncoated on the Democrat Party, and he is like actively destroying it because of how they've gone so anti-Israel. It's insane to me. Really. It seems like that's what's going on. Anyway, we're going to go back to a Morrissey, and then I got an Asmongold video, and then we'll just go ahead and call it for the night. But in the meantime, let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially day number 33 of the ongoing government shutdown, and I'll tell you what, it seems as if President Trump has just hit his boiling point, and that right this very moment, some pretty big developments are currently unfolding. Now, as we all know,
Now, I will say this. Morse seems to be a lot more, like, current and relevant in the things that he says than Hive Mind. Hive Mind seems to be kind of like a day or two behind the ball, almost. You know? It seems like his videos come out after everyone else's do. Where Morse, that shit, he comes out immediately with his stuff. So we'll see.
Not only was this entire government shutdown completely manufactured by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, but also, unfortunately for them, it's totally blown up in their faces. Their plan has completely backfired. At this point, the majority of Americans nationwide not only want the government to reopen, but they also blame the Democrats for this entire situation, which is why, right now, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are currently scrambling for an off-ramp. In other words, a way out. In fact, take a look at this.
Are you hearing of any off-ramp to get this government open this upcoming week?
We certainly hope so. Look, we hope the government opens tomorrow. We have been saying this for 32 days in a row. The Democrats want to try to renegotiate the entire healthcare system that they created, by the way, and that's why they're holding the government hostage. They want to add $1.7 trillion of new spending and, again, give taxpayer-funded Medicaid to illegal aliens. That is a red line in the sand for President Trump and Republicans. He campaigned on ending that, and he did it with the passage of the one big beautiful bill. And so Republicans and President Trump want to reopen the government, and then we can discuss tackling these very important issues before us. How can we fix our healthcare system? There is no one more committed to answering and solving that question than President Donald Trump. That's why you've seen him work tirelessly to negotiate good deals with Big Pharma to bring down the cost of prescription.
Now, I don't necessarily buy all that, but that's just propaganda, right? Like they're just trying to make the message of Trump all that much better. Trump doesn't really give that much of a fuck about the healthcare system. If he did, he would have solved that before he bombed Iran. Okay. Bottom line. There would have been a plan in place before he got into office, and that's it. Here's the deal. With the current system that we have for our healthcare, free healthcare would do nothing but take money out of your pockets and put it into executive pockets. What's up, Ice Damie? Good to see you, man. Welcome in, bro. Welcome in. It would do nothing but take money out of your pockets and put it into pharmaceutical companies' executives' pockets, put it into universities that do medical research's pockets. That's all it would do. Because we're already doing that now. Then you write them a blank check. I mean, give me a break. So, the issues with our healthcare system come from systems that have been in place for literally fucking decades. COVID did not help that. COVID made that much, much, much worse. And now we're seeing the blowback from these things.
Drugs in this country. That's why you saw him pass the largest tax cuts for working families and American consumers in history to put more money back into their pockets. He is committed to delivering on these issues, but not while we are holding the entire federal government and our country hostage.
And so, folks, there you have it. As we all know, President Trump isn't afraid to negotiate. There's a reason why everyone calls him the negotiator-in-chief. But he's not going to negotiate when he's being held hostage by a bunch of radically progressive political terrorists who are trying to extort hundreds of billions of dollars out of the federal government. Which is, for the record, exactly what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are currently trying to do. And so this is why President Trump is currently calling for the Senate Republicans to activate the nuclear option, which would allow the Senate Republicans to move forward with reopening the federal government without the support of the Senate Democrats.
Why the fuck didn't he do that earlier? I mean, unless the whole point of keeping the government shut down was specifically so we could start making staffing cuts. If that's the case, great. If that gave you the position to downsize the government while the government was shut down, and now you want to open it back up, good. But there's people out there that are completely dependent on this piece of shit government now, and they need their money so they can feed their families. So let's fucking get it going.
In fact, on that note, take a look at what President Trump himself posted on Truth Social just a couple of hours ago. Remember, Republicans, regardless of the Schumer shutdown, the Democrats will terminate the filibuster the first chance they get. They will pack the Supreme Court, pick up 2 states, and add at least 8 electoral votes. Their 2 objectors are gone. Don't be weak and stupid. Fight, 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 win, win, win. We will immediately end the extortionist shutdown, get all of our agenda passed, and make life so good for Americans that these deranged Democrat politicians will never have a chance to destroy America. Republicans, you will rue the day that you didn't terminate the filibuster. Be tough, be smart, and win. This is much bigger than the shutdown. This is about the survival of our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, President Trump very clearly just wants to continue pursuing his America First agenda with or without the support of the Senate Democrats. And actually, on that note, just a couple hours ago earlier today, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt added some extra insight into this entire dynamic. Take a look.
Caroline, real quick, is the president not concerned that if you scrap the filibuster, it will be used against the Republicans in the future, where the Democrats will pass legislation without any input from Republicans?
I think the president is realistic in realizing that the Democrats are going to do that anyway. You had two Democrats who were opposed to it, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. And where are they? Neither of them are in the United States Senate today because they were pushed out by the far left radical base that has completely taken over the Democrat Party. Again, these are radical left lunatics in charge of the Democrat Party today, and they will nuke the filibuster. They want to make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They don't care about our sacred institutions in our country. And so Republicans need to play tough and they need to play smart. And that's what President Trump thinks.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, everything she just said is absolutely true. Regardless of whether or not the Senate Republicans activate the nuclear option, the Senate Democrats have promised that the next time they regain control of the Senate, they're going to do it anyway.
But they already tried. They just didn't have unanimous consent within their own party. Like, just like she was saying, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. Those were the two votes that kept the first BBB, the Build Back Better bullshit, from getting passed. Joe Manchin said it himself. There's nothing in here that I can take back to my constituents and tell and like convince them is good for them. If a Democrat is saying that, why the fuck did anyone else vote for it? Party line bullshit. That's it. There was something in it for them.
So really, we can either go nuclear right now in an effort to save the country and undo all of the damage that the Democrats have caused, or we can sit idly by, accomplishing nothing until the Democrats ultimately regain control of the Senate at some point in the future and then go nuclear themselves, continuing to destroy the nation. So hey, I don't know about all of you, but me personally, I tend to agree with President Trump on this one. I think the decision here is pretty simple.
No shit, Stamey. Dude, if you want to jump in, I got a few more things to go over, but if you want to jump into Discord, bro, I'll pull up Discord. See if I can pull it up without it crashing my stream again. I'll be in the God and Country on lower class Discord. Just mind you, when he joins in, it farts. So. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, hey, if you don't end up coming in, bro, it's all right.
But now, this is where Carolyn Leavitt went on to really crank up the heat, so I want you all to take a look at this next clip here. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, take a look at this.
President Trump has spoken to Majority Leader Thune. He's also spoken to our great Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And he's spoken to the whole world by putting his position out on Truth Social in a very public and transparent way, as the president always does. And he is 100% right. Let's talk about what we are dealing with here. Radical left Democrats who have shut our government down and held the American people hostage for 32 days in a row. We have air traffic controller shortages all over this country. Half of our nation's major airports are suffering from severe delays as we head into the busiest travel months of the season. We have 500,000 federal workers who are going unpaid. SNAP benefits have expired only because of President Trump finding a legal maneuver are our troops continuing to be getting paid. If it were up to the Democrats, our military and our law enforcement would not be receiving their paychecks like the rest of the federal government workforce. force. And Democrats are not showing any sign of wanting to reopen the government. They want to give taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens. These are crazed people that President Trump and Republicans...
They need the bodies. They need the bodies. That's it. They don't care about American voters. They care about the bodies in their states because they know there's another census coming, and they know when people count that shit that it's going to change their entire dynamic of power of the United States. That's what's happening right now. They know it.
Are having to deal with. And that's why President Trump has said Republicans need to get tough, they need to get smart, and they need to use this option to get rid of the filibuster, to reopen the government and do right by the American public. We know, Maria, based on the polling and based on common sense, that the vast majority of this country wants the government reopened. That's what President Trump is willing to do. That's what he wants. And he's willing to use any lever to make it happen.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I'm
so glad I don't have any flights and shit to take care of. I hate the airport outside of a government shutdown, let alone during one. Holy fuck.
concerned, that right there is precisely why we all voted for President Trump. Let's be honest here for a moment. Prior to President Trump's emergence in 2016, it seemed like the Republican Party had just become so accustomed to losing that they had pretty much given up altogether. And so when President Trump came down that golden escalator and told everyone, I'm going to teach you how to win again. In fact, we're going to be winning so much that you're going to get sick of it. It really was a reminder that we don't have to accept or tolerate all of the Democrats' anti-American antics. We're allowed to fight back. We're allowed to stand up to the radically progressive agenda of the Democrats. We are allowed to actually use the political power that rightfully belongs to all of us, we the people. But perhaps most importantly, we are obligated to actually put America first, which is exactly what President Trump is currently doing.
All right.
We might be.
So, we're going to start killing Nigerians here in America.
Going to war in Nigeria.
President Trump ordering the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action in Nigeria if the country fails to crack down on the mass killing of Christians.
Rebecca Castor joins us live from Washington, D.C. with those details. Rebecca, good morning.
Rachel, good morning. Yeah, President Trump is not mincing words here. This is what he said on
Is
Truth
bad
Social.
over there? I mean, I'm going to give you my opinion. A lot of people want the Crusades to come back.
Hey, yes, they do, bro.
A lot of people do.
100%.
But in my opinion, the Crusades were really expensive. If they're cutting each other up over in Nigeria, I don't give a fuck. I don't want it to happen. I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to send them aid. But I don't want to spend my money to go and micromanage Nigerians. Sorry.
Yesterday, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria.
Totally
and may
agree
very
with
well
that.
go into the now disgraced country
Guns a-blazing. Look at that.
to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who
Damn.
are committing these horrible.
Which, we're not going to go to war with Nigeria. The second that we stop giving them aid and assistance, they're going to come back crawling on their hands and knees, begging for money, because they're not going to get it from anyone else. And the left is going to say, well, we're starving people in Nigeria, and yada, 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 yada. That's what I predict is going to come of this, right? We're going to stop giving them money, and they're going to come crawling back and crying. That's it.
Atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible attack. If we attack, it will be fast and
Darling.
vicious and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Secretary of War
Man.
Pete Hegseth got the message.
He's just
and
bluffing. It's okay. The thing is that
It's not safe to think Trump's bluffing on anything, but that's just my prediction, right? I really don't think that we're going to go to war with Nigeria. You know how fast that would be over? That's like a Grenada. Okay.
That Venezuelan president recording and begging Trump in English, sending him private fucking voicemails. Please don't fucking kill me. Please don't fucking blow us up. I'll give you all the oil. I'll give you everything you want. Like, I honestly, I think that thing where he bombed Iran and nobody even knew that shit happened until it was over. And like they had these bases, like, you know, like fucking hundreds of feet underground. I really think that kind of, that was the last time people were like, oh, okay, he's not going to do it.
As the Department
That was
of
it.
War is preparing for action.
Message received.
I'm not saying I don't think he would do it. What I'm saying is I don't think it's going to come to that point. Just to be clear.
Response comes as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria has reached crisis levels. Islamist militants have burned down churches and Christian schools.
And it's the slums! Again, it's always the fucking slums, dude.
Wow.
And international civil rights groups estimate more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country
Jesus.
since 2009. But the president of Nigeria claims the reports of violence are misleading and says on X the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all.
Look at that stupid fucking hat. Take off that stupid fucking hat, okay? When you come and sit at this table, you take your hat off, motherfucker. Well, if you're in America, as long as it's a yarmulke, you take it off. If it's a yarmulke, you can leave that on. Shit, our fucking Christian politicians all wear fucking yarmulkes and kiss a wall, so...
Nigerians.
No, yeah, totally.
And our administration is committed to working with the United States government and international community to deepen understanding and cooperation of communities of all faiths.
Why they dead?
President Trump also recently
How'd they die?
redesignated
Bro, his name is Ahmed. Get the fuck out. Are you serious?
Nigeria as a country of concern after former President Biden removed it from the list in 2021.
Man.
Rachel, Charlie, and Griff, back to you.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much.
So it's looking like we might be going over to Nigeria. Like, I didn't even expect this. Like, I never even thought, like, we we're going to have a war in Nigeria. What the fuck?
Thank you, Rebecca.
It's not going to be a war. It's going to be an ass kicking if it gets to that point. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I think, like, the world is well aware now of what we're capable of as a country, and they will not go against what we're capable of. Look at what just happened over in China. We finally got them to come to the fucking table. We'll go over that tomorrow.
Well, it's really hard to tell what's going on.
They're gonna start bombing
We understand
Nigeria.
that they are Muslim rebels of sorts. There's all kinds of unrest in these
I
countries.
live in Nigeria. Our president's retarded. Probably. I mean, most. It seems like most of the governments are retarded.
And it's not just in Nigeria. It's in Sudan. It's in Chad.
Yeah.
It's in the Congo. I mean, it's all over Africa. And, it's out of control. And it is very targeted at Christians. You look at that number in just one country.
Yeah, I mean, they're religious nutballs. I mean, this is what they've been doing forever. Of course.
50,000. And then he says, well, there's no targeted attack. It's kind of crazy. But we've been hearing this from, groups like Boko
Sure seems like
Haram
there's an attack.
since the Obama days. Remember when they kidnapped those girls and there was this whole campaign to bring back the girls, and many of those girls are still in captivity. This is
No, they're not, bro. They're dead. Give me a fucking break. They raped them for a decade, sold them into sex slavery, and when people were done fucking them, they killed them. That's what happened. Can we just, for a second, be honest about the severity of what goes on in other countries? I'm so tired of people fucking ham-fisting and sugarcoating shit because we don't want people to get offended. Dude, this is what's happening in the world, okay? The world is a sick, dark place. We need to be realistic. Who gives a fuck who gets offended by reality? I'm so sick of this shit. I'm really sick of it.
Gentleman named Paul Adamu. He is Nigerian. He is a Christian, and he was kidnapped by Boko Haram.
Oh, boy.
And this is what he had to say in an op-ed with Fox News recently. He said, "These are not random acts of violence. They are systematic, coordinated attempts to erase Christian communities from the region."
Yeah.
As someone who has walked through the burned villages and prayed with survivors, I can tell you the reality is even worse than the statistics suggest.
Yes.
The United States and other Western nations cannot look away.
We absolutely can. Your bullshit on the other side of the world is not our problem. Period.
Have both the moral obligation
Absolutely, we
and
can.
the diplomatic tools to
Do not
press
have a moral obligation.
I don't agree with that take. I don't. Stopping the spread of Islam is at the top of my bucket list. Yeah, fuck Israel, right? You guys have heard me say it again and again. But fuck Islam even worse.
Our moral obligation.
There aren't packs of Jews running through the streets and raping kids in other countries, okay? What did we find out about the UK? The rape gangs. Do you think those are native UK people? Get fucked. Are you kidding me? No, they're not.
Is that we have to help you. Oh, how convenient for you.
Nigeria towards real accountability.
Yeah.
By the way, he is also going to be on our show later on today, and we'll hear from him directly.
And you know the thing that I love about that the tweet, the message by President Trump is that we talked last week about
The world's connected. We do have to help sometimes. For what?
John Roe doctrine. How President Trump is concerned more about his own backyard, which is way smarter than
Stammy, I don't think we have a moral obligation. That's just my opinion. That shit needs to get stopped yesterday. That's just my opinion. No metric. And morals are aside from it. I don't want to deal with that at home. That's it.
Venting all around the world. But the other thing is you can use that pulpit as a way to put your foot down and scare the living bejesus out of foreign countries where they are doing things like this.
Oh.
And
Hold on, I gotta piss. I'm muted. I just thought of something. We had the biggest demonstrations in this country for the deportation of illegal aliens. Right? Where are the protests now for American citizens that have lost every piece of dependency upon the government to feed their families? Where are those folks at now? They sure as fuck aren't passing out signs, fighting cops, throwing piss bottles and fireworks and cinder blocks and breaking windows and looting stores and blocking intersections and where the fuck are they at now? Isn't that interesting? Then when it actually comes to American people who are being affected by the government, all these protesters don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit when it comes to American people. They'll just get on X. And they'll get on the Reels. And they'll get on TikTok. And they'll get on fucking YouTube. And they'll get on Kick. And they'll get on Blue Sky. And they'll get on X. And they'll bitch about it. But where the fuck are they in the streets right now when people in this country are suffering? Who's paying for those protests? Nobody. That's why there fucking are none. Nobody's protesting shit when kids are going hungry. Isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? We had the biggest demonstration in American history happen. The No Kings protest. Some no endgame bullshit that accomplished literally fucking nothing. But when kids are going hungry, when families can't feed their children, there's not a fucking person outside with a sign. No one's gathering together to protest this. Isn't that fucking interesting? Right, Stamey. It's pretty convenient. Isn't it?
They're not going to stop doing it because Trump threatened them. Like, if the president of the country is sweeping for them...
Clip that.
That means that it's systematic. They're just going to do it more quietly and wait for Trump to leave office and start doing it again. Or do it less and less frequency. It's pretty obvious.
And it's part of the anything is possible doctrine or the daddy's home doctrine, where people are actually afraid. They recognize he really will make good on all of his promises. And that tends to sort of
for evangelical
inspire peace,
votes, maybe.
And we've seen it around the world.
I'm drinking water tonight, baby.
I love the way you said earlier when we were talking about this before the show started. I said, well, I think all the actors in there are bad. I mean, these are factions, military factions fighting against each other, and these civilians are sort of caught in it.
Yeah.
And Charlie said, well, it's just that's what President Trump does. He just says, knock it off, or I'm coming up there.
Don't make me come upstairs. It's a great point, but
don't make me bomb you. Aren't they doing new nuclear testing too?
Yeah,
I think they are.
We are seeing President Trump's peace.
It is
through strength.
Yeah. It is. Some say we're 85% water.
In action, because there's soft power, the trade that has gotten so much accomplishments, but then there's a hard.
Somebody goes, what's the difference between helping Gaza and helping Nigeria? I mean, are you really asking that, or are you just trying to
It's Christians versus Slams, dude. Fuck Slams. Don't give a fuck about them.
Draw a distinction.
That's it.
Because a lot of people people you ask the question like that is very simple, right? The conflict in Gaza is directly the conflict in Gaza is directly correlated to
Israel.
an immediate ally that we have that we're working with.
Oh,
Nigeria's infighting
no!
has nothing to fucking do with us.
The check cleared on gold, dude. Asman, the check is cleared. I think that's the case.
Like, I think this is probably a dishonest question, but, like, I will answer it honestly. That's the difference. Ally? Well, yeah, Israel is America's ally. That's what they say. Now, you can argue that Israel isn't actually our ally, and I would probably agree with you.
Oh, okay.
But, like, if you want to know the public position and why it's different, that's the reason why it's different.
Okay. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable take. I can get on board with that. Public perception, yes. In actuality, no. I can get on board with that.
Power, and that's the threat of guns ablazing. And look, if he does go guns ablazing, it's going
Just
to
gave
be
you an answer.
a limited strike, precision. It's not going to be some starting a war. We've seen this before. He's done that.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Nigeria is on notice now. And
boy.
I went this morning to the United Nations Twitter feed. I'm like, I wonder if there's anything about Nigeria, about Christians.
Yeah.
Nothing. You can find condemnation.
No, the United Nations is, again, it is a globalist agency that has no interest of any country whatsoever, and it should be viewed as a foreign entity that does not have your best interests in mind.
Correct. Yes. The UN does nothing but advocate for itself. It does not give a fuck about the United States' best interest. It doesn't care about the UK's best interest. It does not care about Germany, does not care about France, does not care about Belgium, does not care about Norway, does not care about Turkey, does not care about Sweden. It doesn't care about any individual country other than its own self-interest. That is it. That is all. Put a pin in it. Put it in pipe and smoke it.
It does not have the best
That's
interest
all.
of the United States.
Nope.
Russia, China,
Yep.
the UK, any of these other countries,
Correct.
Israel. It doesn't have any of these
Yeah.
countries' best interests in mind. It is an international organization that has no obligation to anybody really other than just spreading out platitudes.
Itself.
and
book.
wasting the world's money.
Being taken out of the
Correct.
Caribbean by
There
the
is
UN,
that too.
But you won't see that. Very interesting
That's
thing.
very fascinating,
Yeah,
actually,
I'll
Greg.
keep watching. I'll bring it to our viewers if we see it.
You might be the only one on the UN,
Exactly.
on the UN Twitter handle.
You can follow the UN for the rest of us. It's because this is what they're supposed
Right.
to
Right.
do,
No,
and
exactly.
yet they're so absent.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my
That's what I'm
co
saying, right? The test of microprocessing power, Israel would shock you. They're definitely an ally. I mean, I would say that Israel's definitely probably like more, like we work with Israel more than we work with Nigeria, as far as I know, right? I mean, I'd say that's definitely true. But yeah, we might be having a war with Nigeria. We might be bombing Nigeria soon. I didn't know that was going to happen. I was quite surprised, but it seems like things are changing. Yeah, wow. We might be going to war in Nigeria.
Why did it just replay the video? Anyway, so I'm looking up another video that I wanted to play. This is it. Yes. Okay. He said what no one else would. All right. That's it.
The real reason life is brutally unfair for men.
We now have this digital world that we can live our lives in as a distraction from the.
Now, just want to preface this, right? I really don't really touch on. Yeah, I like Cartiers, bro. They're cool as fuck, dude. I like them. I really don't touch on a lot of culture stuff. I feel like, you know, a lot of when it comes to culture and you start talking with people, like 80% of the time, 85 maybe, they always delve into the either the feminist viewpoint or the red pill viewpoint. And there's no nuance or like any kind of like true look at these things for what they are, right? Like it's always Well, this side's victimized. No, our side's victimized. No, our side's victimized. No, our side's victimized. And that's what it always devolves into. And it's so tiresome. I just don't give a fuck enough to even give it like the time of day anymore. It really has just become like more of a they have some really good videos on there today about the EBT stuff that came out in the past couple days. Okay, I'm gonna check them out then. We'll check them out tonight. Yeah. I typically just don't talk about these things because it's either people are red-pilled or feminist, right? And that's it. And this is just my opinion, and you may disagree with this. I look at red pill as male feminism. Seriously, I do. Red pill is so fucking dumb. It's so low IQ, brain rot bullshit. It's a bunch of rich dudes that get a bunch of pussy that prey on dudes that sit at home all day and jack off and don't like have a social life. That's who they prey on. That's what that content is for. And when I say red pill, I'm not talking about Andrew Wilson. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the like Andrew Tates of the world, right? Guys in that ilk. I'm not talking about people who genuinely have like a solid Christian reason for staying celibate. It's more along the lines of people who just say men are victims and that's it, right? So anyway, wanted to dive into this a little bit because I genuinely feel like this is a pretty accurate representation. This is from a guy called Dr. K. There's a lot of folks that don't really like him. It's an interview that he had. I like this concept.
Real world. And there's now more confusion than ever over what it is to be a man and the role of a man in a, and then we look at the stats around suicidality. And I think in Europe,
guys
the
kill
biggest
themselves
killer
all the
of
time.
men under the age of 45 is themselves currently.
Yeah.
Is the shifting idea of what it is to be a man having an impact on people's sense of self and their purpose?
100%. So there's a crisis that's going on in
It's a
men.
huge identity crisis. Massive.
And people think that this is new, but I don't think it's new. It's always been there. So if you look at even 50, 60 years ago, 80% of suicides are still
Right,
going to be
Stamey,
men.
exactly.
So historically,
Yeah.
men have been killing themselves for like 100 years and no one's been.
Well, I mean, what's that seppuku? The Japanese swordsman thing? Yeah.
But that wasn't. That's kind of that's not really necessarily relevant because seppuku had more to do with like you did that because you dishonored your family. It wasn't like I'm depressed, so I'm going to cut my guts out while someone else cuts off my head. It was you are sacrificing one of the most torturous things you can do, which is stab a blade into you, cut down to the right, and then cut over to the left so your innards spill out, and then somebody else lops your head off. So it's the last thing that you experience in life is agony. Like that is the whole point of seppuku. And it's a sacrifice that you make to avoid shame. It wasn't something you did because you were depressed.
I mean, plenty of times, like, absolutely.
Paying attention. We're just
Of course.
noticing now because the problem seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, it is.
So there's a couple of things that are really interesting to understand. So one is that if we look at what technology is doing to our brains, the first thing that it's doing is it is externalizing our attention.
Oh.
So if you look back, like let's say 1,000 years ago, as human beings, we spent a lot more time with ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got that's one thing is people like I've noticed this myself is that this is gonna sound really bad, but I'm gonna just say it. Every time I get to a stoplight or a stop sign, I have to wait. I will sometimes pick up my phone and I will look at my
Based, Amy, 100%. You know, I will say this, since we're talking about sewer slide, right? You don't know the level of damage your death would have on the people who truly love you and care about you. And I didn't understand that until I went back home for my granddad's celebration of life. and saw how my grandmother had taken it. They were married for 50 years, and he didn't even kill himself. And she saw it coming. Like, you got to think, when someone you really love and care about and have a relationship with, not even just like, you know, husband, wife, but like someone that you have like an interpersonal relationship with, whether they're a friend or whatever, someone you see a lot, someone you talk to a lot, you become part of someone's routine. You become a part of their everyday life. And especially when it comes to, you know, human connection and things like that, people they develop like a comfort, because I know I did, but they develop a comfort in knowing that, you know, you're going to be there. And of course, like, it's not to have this idea that, you know, you're never going to go away, you're never going to die or anything, but there are so many more questions. Like, let's just say, for instance, right, tomorrow on my, well, I guess not tomorrow, but on Tuesday, on my drive to work, someone cuts me off, I crash, and I die, right? That would devastate the people in my life that love me. But there wouldn't be any further questions past that. It was a car accident. It was tragic. This sucks. There's that. And then all the preceding things, right? Like, you know, this is someone that I talk to consistently, someone who was part of my life that's now gone. They're dead. We'll never speak to them again. Any kind of regrets that you have with your interpersonal relationship with them, maybe, you know, I shouldn't have done this. I really wish I would have done this better. I really wish I would have done this, yada, yada, right? But when someone takes their own life, when someone goes through with that, it adds another layer on top, which is, did I do something to cause this? What could I have done to stop this? If I would have known this would have happened, I would have gone so far out of my way to make sure it didn't, whatever the case may be. And that alone is such a heavy weight on those that love you and those that care about you, aside from everything else, aside from the fact that you just took, because you are, no matter what you think, and this isn't like, I'm not trying to be some fucking self-help guru here. I just want everyone to understand. There's someone in your life that values you way more than you understand. They might even value you more than you value them. And you don't understand what kind of an impact you have on them. And by going through something like that, with something like that, you strip them of something that they truly cherish and value. Love. That's it.
My phone while I'm driving. How many of you guys do that? Be honest. I do it. I do it all the time. Yeah, I do it constantly. Okay. So I'm basically all right.
Right, Stammy. Exactly. Well, I mean, like, everyone who does that is only thinking of themselves in the moment. And like, I would not be surprised if a lot of people who do it don't actually really want to go through with it, but they do it, and then it's over, right? I don't need to go into the details of why I think that.
Carefully, I have not run over anybody that I'm aware of.
So let's say that you and I go out hunting. And then let's say you shoot an arrow at a deer and you miss. And then I shoot an arrow at a deer and I hit.
Yeah.
So in this moment, I'm superior to you.
Sure.
And then we pick up the deer and we're carrying it back. And then we have about 2 or 3 hours to take that emotional insult and we kind of process it. We just give our mind space to process it, which it does automatically. Now, if you look at what happens in people's days,
well,
they don't
is also that, like, I mean, then you're helping the guy cook the deer and eat the deer and skinning the deer. And now both of you are eating the deer. So, like, you take part in the other person's success. And like now, I think life, especially social media, is seen way more as a zero-sum game. So like whenever somebody sees somebody else doing well, there's not really the enthusiasm to compliment that person or to be positive towards them, but instead to undermine them and make it invalid what their success is.
Actually have any
That's
time to
Because on social media, people have the propensity to only put on social media what makes them happy, what they're proud of, right? Things they do that they want to show off. Maybe. No shit, dude. Yeah. Maybe it's not all just ego, but it's just something where, man, I want to put this out for the world to see. And at one point, there were so many people that were terminally online, because I was one of them when I was a teen. When I was a teen, I wanted everyone that I saw who would like get a car or, you know, get a good job out of high school, especially when I was a fucking drug addict. I had a friend that ended up playing for the Oklahoma Sooners. I hated them. I hated their success. I was a miserable fuck, right? I looked at other people and saw their success, and it boiled my fucking blood. Because I was a loser. Because I wasn't willing to put the effort and the time in to do anything and grow anything. I wasn't willing to do what I needed to do to make something of myself. That's why I hated other people. That's why I ended up so fucking miserable. Because I was lazy. And I wasn't willing to make any changes in my life. That's the difference. Today, I'm not like that. Today, when I see a homeboy blowing up, their channel doing good, their life getting better, I cheer. Even if my life isn't, even if my channel isn't, even if everything's going wrong. And that's not a pat on my back, right? It's not. It's not. But I just view friendship in a very different light today. Friendship for me today is less about what I can get from other people, but more what I can give. That's the big difference in me today. Yes, Amy, exactly, bro. Yeah. That's who I was. I was a miserable fuck, dude.
Process what happens to them, because we are so constantly distracted by external things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're like this, but I was in this point where I was idiotically efficient. So I would wake up in the morning.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like, this is one of the things that with like my dad, whenever my dad passed away, like basically for the first 2 weeks, I was just kind of like, I was so busy. Bro, dying is complicated. Holy fuck. There's all this paperwork. You've got to fill out these forms. You've got to make all these phone calls. You got to talk to everybody. Holy shit. God damn, bro. That's just shit's annoying, man. A lot of shit to handle. Exactly. It's complicated. But then
I appreciate you too, Stammy. You're the fucking man, bro. I hope you realize that, dude.
one day I just finally got down, and I feel like I still haven't fully processed it. And like yesterday was kind of bad for me, I'm going to be honest, because it was like the first holiday that I spent without either of my parents, right? Because it was Halloween. Like my dad would take me out trick-or-treating and everything. And, you know, I don't want to talk a whole lot about that right now, but like just in general, that's the way that I felt. And, you know, it was a weird, not so great day for me yesterday. But I'm 30. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm a 35-year-old man. I can handle this. Like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, even now, yeah. At 30, absolutely. And so, the truth is, though, is like I remember like one of the days I just kind of went into his house and I just sat in his chair and I just cried. And I was just like, it was like 2 weeks after he had passed away. And I was just like, fuck, man. And even now, I think about this shit. I do. I think about this shit all the time because it's so as normal. It is, but like I was so distracted prior to that I didn't really even have time to process those emotions. That's the point. And I think that's why.
I mean, dude, the grieving process is tough, you know, and especially for guys like, you know, I'm one of those kind of guys that, you know, I feel like I don't feel like this about other dudes, right? And like, unless it's some dude that's like constantly crying about fucking everything in their life, it's like, get a fucking grip. But I don't look at people who go through like a grieving process that cry over it. I don't look at them less than, but I have my own issues with being able to deal with the grieving process in a healthy way. So like I'm not saying I don't cry, because I did. Like when my granddad died back in July, you know, he was my father. That man raised me, and I had my moments, but it was tough for me to. It was like a mental battle for me to get to truly like find time for myself to grieve, right? Like there's nothing wrong with taking that healthy moment to grieve, especially when it's someone that you truly love, right? Like just I'm not a life coach. I don't give advice or anything, but that's what I would always say is the most important thing to keep in mind. When you lose someone that you truly care about, you have to give yourself time to grieve. You have to. Otherwise, it'll build up and it'll come out in very, very bad ways.
It happens with people all the time. And I think that it's like, you know, you're doing that, you're microdosing on that, and then eventually it builds up to being like an actual problem where you never process. It's what I said before about how like people go on the internet with like unresolved personal trauma, and then they want the entire internet to live it out for them. So like, you know, for example, like you had a girlfriend that cheated on you. All girls are whores now. You had a boyfriend that, you know, was abusive. Oh, I'd rather live with a bear, right? Like this is your own personal trauma that now you're putting on the whole world. And I think that like there's a lot of examples of that. So instead of working through it privately, they do this instead.
Morning, and I would listen to a podcast while I'm like doing my exercise or whatever. And then even when I'm cooking, I'm listening to a lecture.
Yeah.
And then like when I'm walking to the train, I have earbuds in and I'm listening to a lecture there. On the train, I'm reading. I wanted my life to be completely.
There's an echo in the audio coming off of this video. It is not coming from my actual setup. I can hear it. I don't know why, but it's happening.
Efficient.
Maximized, yeah.
I didn't want to waste a single moment.
I literally listen to the news in the shower. It's
right. So we don't want to waste time. And so if you really think about it, where's the attention of your mind? Your mind is pointed outside of you.
Yeah.
And so then what happens is once we do not pay attention to ourselves, we lose sight of our internal signals. Literally in the same way that if you raise a
100%,
child in a dark
100%.
cave,
Absolutely.
the photoreceptors in their eyes won't develop. They will.
That's exactly the reason why I have like in my house, all my lights are always off. Because I think that it will allow me. Eventually, I'll be able to. I can almost see in the dark now. Like I can almost read. I can read a sheet of paper, in almost pitch black, with like complete efficiency.
Oh my god.
Atrophy. So anytime,
but I like if I go out and the sun's out, I'm like, I'm having a bad time.
Anything that the mind does not get access to will start to atrophy. If
Yeah.
I don't practice Spanish, I'm going to forget
my
Spanish.
God.
That's right.
The brain is a very efficient organ.
Yeah.
So as we externalize our attention, we lose sight of our internal signals. We don't know who we are anymore. And now if I don't know who I am,
How do you make decisions?
how do I figure out who I'm supposed to be? I pay attention to the outside. Where are the answers? They're on the outside. So this person is talking about masculinity. This person is talking about what it means to be a
Well,
man.
I think the big problem too is that like there is a lack of fathers in households, and I think it's also a lack of masculine positive role models in households. So like I was incredibly lucky, and a lot of friends of mine, right? I mean, we're also incredibly lucky where like we had people like, you know, like you can even ask Cody, one of my real life friends, I've known him for like 20, 25 years, right? Yeah, probably closer to probably about 25 years now. Like, you know, we had like my dad, Cameron's dad, AJ's dad, and like, you know, Toby's dad or his stepdad. Like, you know, all these guys were like solid, legitimate, you know, I think all of them actually were ex-military. And they were solid, strong role models. Because, like, in my opinion, it's like you want to look at, like, who is a positive, who is a great male role model. It's not somebody like Andrew Tate or, you know, like even Jordan Peterson. You look at that and, like, my role model, like, I would say, like, who would I say, like, you want to be like is, like, Aragorn, right? In Lord of the Rings. Like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And like a lot of people think that like masculinity and being a man is like the ability or the willingness to exercise power. And I don't think that's true. Yeah, or Goku, right? Or Goku's another one. And think about how completely culturally universal Goku is. You can have guys in China that love Goku, Japan obviously love Goku, Europe that love Goku, South America, holy fuck, like they go crazy for that shit. And everybody in the whole world is like, they see Goku and they say they want that that's me, right? And so, not Goku? No, I think so.
This person is talking about what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
And now, since I don't have any internal source of information, I'm trying to figure out what it means to be a man from the outside world. And this is when men get truly fucked.
Yep.
Because what it means to be a
Yep.
man, we are getting all kinds of mixed signals. So on the one hand, it means being physically
It's also another big problem too, is that, and I don't know if he's going to talk about this or not, is that I think that self-help and information on the internet and people looking for any sort of advice on the internet is incredibly toxic, because the most popular people in a lot of cases tell you that your fault is somebody else's. It's the Jews, it's women, it's the patriarchy, it's rape culture, it's fucking white supremacy. It's never you. And that's the problem, is like, so much of the, and this is, I've said this before, right? So much of these things are constantly about why you're doing people basically are looking for someone to tell them that you're doing your best whenever you're sitting at home jerking off to animals that aren't real on DeviantArt and playing Marvel Rivals for 12 hours a day.
And God forbid, please don't take any accountability for anything you do. If you take accountability for the things you do, how are we going to manipulate you into voting for us so you can get free shit? Because remember, and never forget, you're a victim. From the moment you're born until the moment you die, you are a victim, and it's never your fault.
And if you don't tell them that that's the right option and you're doing the best you can, they're going to look for somebody else that will. That's the problem. It's so toxic. Massively toxic.
Yep.
On the other hand, it means being a provider. On one hand, it means having sex with as many women as you can find. On the other hand, it means having sex with just one woman and being a really solid man and being a good father. And then there's also people telling us that being a man means that you're shit, right? That you're toxic, that your testosterone level makes you violent, that you're evil, that you're privileged, that there's a patriarchy, all this kind of stuff. So we're getting all this information from the outside about what it means to be a man. And so there are all kinds of interesting ramifications of this. So men in today's society are not allowed to complain. So if you complain and you're a successful person or a privileged person, everyone is going to think you're arrogant. Everyone is going to think, oh my God.
He's right. He's right. Yeah, absolutely. He's right. People that are seen in a privileged position, like I think this is true for streamers. Like I have a lot of streamers that like will talk to me. And they'll tell me, they're like, I really wish I could tell people this, and they'll be upset whenever they'll tell their audience something. Damn, there's a rainbow. It's a sign? Wait, it's a sign for what? What do you mean?
Who's this fucking guy? This guy doesn't know what my life is like. How does he have any right to complain?
Yeah.
And even your mind will tell you this. You'll look at these people and you'll be like, yeah, I don't have a right to complain.
Yeah.
But now we need to stop for a second and think about what it does
I
to
think also, like, to a certain extent, it is true. Because a lot of people don't acknowledge how good they have it. Like, every single person that has the ability to watch this video has an insurmountable advantage over that is over more than 1 billion people in this world right now. You've already spawn RNG'd yourself above 1 billion people. that don't have access to the internet. They don't have access to technology. And people never think about that. Also, like those of y'all that are listening to this is in English. English is one of the most well-spoken languages in the world. Like the truth is that learning English growing up is going to be probably more beneficial for you if you do anything outside of your country than learning French, for example. Because
Astronaut, what's going on, dude? Sorry you had a rough day, man. Glad you're here, bro. Glad you're here. If you want to jump in and bullshit with me for a minute, you're more than welcome to, my man.
France is a much smaller country. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that are monolingual in France, and it's totally fine. But in a general sense, like knowing a global cultural language, like I think that obviously you have like Mandarin and Cantonese, English and Spanish, right, which are some of the biggest languages. Knowing those languages is a tremendous advantage and a massive privilege. And a lot of people never understand privilege outside of the spectrum of like race or gender, which is, I think, very, very stupid. And I think that, again, it goes back to having the locus of agency inside of yourself rather than external.
Psychology when you as a human being are not allowed to articulate your suffering. I've worked with people who've grown up in abusive households where children will say to their parents, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm hurting."
Yeah.
And the parent smacks them across the face. "How dare you? You're so lucky. You don't realize the sacrifices I make for you." It's traumatizing to the child when they say, "I am suffering," and no one listens.
My dad would do this all the time, bro. He would do this constantly. Like every time that I told him I had a problem, he would tell me about his problem that was worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who grew up like that. That's kind of an American thing that we do, right? And you know, for me, this might be a hot take, but I think from an early age, being able to look at someone else's position and understand that it could be worse is not necessarily a bad thing. The issue is now that I'm in my 30s and I'm realizing that, like, oh, y'all came from a completely different era where things were entirely different economically, and, you know, we haven't had 25 years of money printer go burr. You know, it's like, holy shit, dude. How much did you really sacrifice? But at the end of the day, I do think it's good children be instilled with the idea to look at someone else's. What's going on, Nuxus? Welcome in. I do think it's good for children to be able to recognize other people's misfortunes as worse than their own, because that gives them something to be grateful for, that you're not in that position and you haven't had to do that, at least yet. Right? Now, I'm not a parent, so I don't know. I was just raised by parents. So I'm looking at this thing from the opposite side of the spectrum, and that's just my opinion.
And honestly, it was a point of contention between him and I. Like, I never really got over it, to be honest with you. I still resent that.
This is what we're doing to the generation of men. People are saying, "I am suffering." For 100 years.
That's fair, Stammy. Yeah, 100%. That's fair.
Men have been killing themselves. 80% of suicides are men. The most dangerous thing for a man under 45 is themselves.
That's right.
And these people have been literally killing themselves because no one has been listening to them.
Yep.
So in the same way that you grow up with as a child in a household that's abusive, where no one takes you seriously, no one listens to your suffering, and now we even have successful men who are not allowed to complain.
Well,
So
those are especially the ones that aren't allowed to complain, because they're the ones that have access to the resources and all this, you know, like methods of power. And so you especially don't want to hear them complaining.
Impact is the same. Anytime you have a human being who is suffering in some way.
Let's be real. I don't want to hear fucking anybody complain. But am I willing to sit down and listen to someone who needs to talk about something? For sure. But there has to be some level of like constructive, there has to be a constructive element to it, unless it's about grief. You know what I mean? Like, if someone wants to talk to me about their grief, that's great. I'm not going to say a word, though, because, you know, in my experience, words don't do shit when you're talking about losing someone that you love. The fuck am I going to say? It's going to get better? You know what I mean? So...
and they cannot find connection with another human being. They cannot find compassion with another human being. That person is going to feel isolated.
Yeah.
And if you look at the statistics on suicide, it's very interesting. So the number one thing that correlates with male suicide is not depression.
Not having a girlfriend?
This is super scary. There's one study I saw recently that suggests that 50% of men who kill themselves have no history or evidence of mental illness. And this, I believe the statistic in my clinical practice because I know what depression looks like. I know what bipolar disorder looks like. And half the men that I've worked with, at least, are not actually mentally ill. See, mental illness means a pathology of the mind, which means that the mind is malfunctioning. Most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
They're looking at things and objectively
Absolutely.
realizing that there's no way out of this situation.
You're
So they
cooked.
turn to suicide.
Exactly.
So I know it's kind of like a very controversial statement.
Yeah, I'm not trying to listen to someone complain, just complain, expecting me to just co-sign their bullshit. That irks the hell out of me, based. I recently got into an argument with a buddy about that. I kept offering suggestions and solutions, but he didn't want solutions. He just wanted to vent and not change anything. Complaining about things within his control. Yeah, I mean, that's what women do. I mean, like, straight up. And, like, here's the thing, bro. Women, don't ever offer them a solution unless they ask you for one. Just let women talk through their problems, right? Like, that's what women do. That's what they expect. They expect you to do what their friends do for them. Okay. So when they come to you and they're venting and stuff, just let them talk. Just let them talk. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yep. 100%. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. That's the one thing I've learned in my relationships is they don't want any solutions to what they're coming to you for unless they specifically ask you for one. Right? That's it. If they're not asking you for a solution, just let them fucking go at it. That's all. That's the only thing that I can say for sure about women in general. Now, maybe that's not like a totally like blanket statement that's true for every woman, but I mean, you know, I'm batting pretty high on that bet every single time I take it. So that's all.
But
yeah, no, 100%. Like I felt that way myself many times. Like many times I felt like, oh man, maybe I should just kill myself. Like even nowadays, like I'm gonna take another picture of the rainbow because it got brighter. Yeah, like I feel that way like regularly. I do.
Ashton, bro, you don't ever have to apologize, man. I hope things are going well. I know, hey, if you said you got a raise, you probably got more responsibilities and shit, dude. You got stuff going on in life, bro. You get it, bro. I got your back, man. You don't have to apologize to me. I'm just glad to see you in here today, man. You know what I mean? You know. You don't owe me the viewership. I'm just glad you're here. You know what I mean?
But it doesn't mean you do it, right? But I mean, you feel that way sometimes for sure.
I think that's what my clinical practice has shown, and there's some research to even back that up. So if we sort of look at what's going on with men, we're sort of, they have nowhere to turn to. And the number one thing that correlates with it is not mental illness, but is a sense of thwarted belongingness. So this is kind of like multivariate regression analysis. But basically what happens is what causes people to kill themselves is they try to connect with others and they get rejected.
Yeah,
So
and this is what happens. Is people, that's why they go on the internet, they hate everybody else, etc. Yeah, show us. Show right there. Can you see it? Right there. Maybe it's like right about that through there. Yeah, so there it is. And so it's pretty crazy, right? And wow, yeah, I know. Like it's one of the best ones I've ever seen. It is. It's one of the best ones ever. And anyway, so
then you're always welcome to do that, man. You're always welcome to come in here and say when you had a bad day. You know? I may not be able to offer like advice or help with anything, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just glad you're here, bro. You know?
Generally, I think that is 100% fucking true. Like, absolutely. Like, guys, they will try to make a connection. It doesn't work out. I think that a lot of guys, you know, like, when do people probably kill themselves? Probably isn't the day that a lot of people kill themselves, like, the most, like, the suicides is, like, pretty close to, if not on Valentine's Day? Like, I think this is a pretty common thing. Now, I could be wrong about that, though. Or at least men.
specifically a very specific
Hey, you too, brother. I'm glad you're around, my man.
research term called thwarted belongingness.
It's Christmas.
So I try to belong to
Basically,
a group.
about the same thing. Yeah.
And that
Scott Hopvet, welcome in, brother. Good to see you, my man. Welcome back, bro. Always good to see you here, dude.
group or multiple groups usually will thwart my attempts to join the tribe, to join the community. And this is what actually correlates a lot
Forever
with
alone.
suicidality.
Yeah.
So what's going on with men right now is that we really don't allow them to suffer, because then you're not manly.
Yeah.
And we're so externalized with our attention that we're not connecting with ourselves. And so we're looking to other people to tell us what it means to be a man. But that may or may
It's
not
also
work.
because there's less fathers. Like there's less there are less present fathers that are actual like men that are playing a role inside of their kids' upbringing.
Christ will teach you how to be a man. And by bringing your son to Christ, Christ will also teach him to be a man. God is the ultimate father. Like I said, I haven't been a parent. I don't know. But I didn't need a dad to teach me how to be a man. I needed a male role model in my life, and I had a male role model in my life, but he didn't even bring me to God. I ended up a drug addict. And I'm not talking shit about my granddad. I'm just saying it was God, it was Christ that showed me how to be a man.
And I think that's another huge factor. Is they don't have any father figure growing up that they can look at and be like, okay, this is kind of what I should do, right?
For you, right? That may have been what worked for them. So then we kind of get into this problem where we're disconnected from ourselves, and then like the world doesn't accept us, we're not allowed to suffer, and that's what creates the problem.
What is the remedy to this?
So I think the first thing is we must reconnect with ourselves, right? So when you're kind of saying like, why does everyone think, oh, I need to like achieve this, I need to make this money and things like that. Where did you learn that you should do all that? You learned all that from the outside.
The internet,
Instagram.
Instagram, right? So we get fed all of these ideas because if you look at all these,
you have to live your life a certain way. You have to be a certain person. You have to have these ideas. You have to, achieve these things and all of that. It's all bullshit. You don't need to do any of that. You do whatever the fuck you want.
Influencers, what are they doing? They're never crying.
You can. That's the thing, right? We have free will. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can do the most heinous, degenerate shit possible. You can do whatever you want. But just understand there are consequences to those things. Just understand that there's levels of misery that come directly based out of our own actions. And we reap those seeds once they've grown. Just saying. There's a lot of people that advocate for these levels of degeneracy in society. They want more and more and more and more and more. But they don't tell you the consequences you get from those. They might go to some 21-year-old chick that she's been in college for a couple years and just started fucking 7 different guys, and she loves coming, and she loves cocaine, and she loves alcohol. But they're not going to talk to her again in 8 years and see where her life has gone. They're not going to come back to the dude that he just started shooting heroin and he loves it. They're not going to come back to him in 3 years and see how his life's doing. But right now, when he gets pulled, he's going to say it's fantastic. So that's the thing, right? You can do whatever the fuck you want. That's open for you. You have that choice. You can go and do anything you want to do. The most degenerate shit possible. If you want to crawl into bed with 3 other dudes and 1 chick, you can do that. How long are you going to be able to do that, though? Until you get strapped with fucking butt herpes or something. I mean, let's be real. So,
They're smiling. Some of them will even pay very attractive women to take pictures with them.
Well, some of them are.
Right, that's what I'm saying, Ashton, exactly. Yeah, I had a father figure in my life too, and it's not to his detriment. It's not that he was a failure in his role as a father figure for you. God the Father, Christ the Father, Christ, that is God the Father, is the one who teaches me, who taught me, I'll speak for myself, how to be a man.
Crying, but they're crying and uploading it for ulterior motives, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of them are genuinely
Manipulation.
suffering too. But then it's also like, I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. So one thing is like people say that men we don't allow men to be emotional nowadays, but people say, oh, men are allowed to cry. So this is something that I experienced even in my marriage where
Nah, bro, that's like a Venus flytrap. Men are allowed to cry. People, nah, you don't do it. Don't do it. Remember whenever Kyle Rittenhouse cried in like his court date, and then people used that as a meme for like years? No,
Yeah.
don't do it. You don't want to do it publicly.
100%.
Like honestly, like I try not to cry in front of anybody. Just in private.
Yeah. Remember when I said allot yourself time to grieve? That means away from everyone else, right? Like, life is tough. I don't think anyone is willing to argue that, right? Life is not easy. That's why I need Christ. That's why I need God. And don't be afraid when you're by yourself, dealing with your issues. Don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to let that emotional release come out. But God forbid, don't be one of those little bitches that just goes into public and fucking cries to everyone about everything. You're not grieving, you're just annoying at that point. That's it.
we allow men to cry, but we don't allow men to be angry. But why is it are men no longer allowed to be angry? Just think about it for a second. So anger is just a
You can be angry in public, though. Just saying.
Completely normal emotion, right? But if I'm in a situation where I'm in an argument with my wife and I feel emotion A and I express emotion A and she feels emotion B.
Based, Amagad, absolutely. A man should cry to one person and one person only. That is God. 100%. 100%. You know, sometimes I cry tears of joy and gratitude to God because I look at the way my life is right now. And even though it's not necessarily like picture perfect and it's kind of tough, I look at the way my life is now and how vastly worse it could have turned out if God didn't intervene. And every day I wake up and I look at that and I go, damn, thank you, God.
And she expresses emotion B. These two things should be equal, right? We as both.
No, he's so right. I hope he's going to say what I'm saying. There are so many cases in society where the feminine norm is considered better and more acceptable than the male norm. And I think there's like a over-feminization of society that happens inside of education, that happens inside of, I think, popular culture. And I think that it also happens inside of companies too. And basically, whenever it comes down to which emotion is correct, is it the man's emotion or the woman's emotion? The typically male emotions are seen as wrong, and the typically female emotions are seen as acceptable. It's a huge problem.
Human beings get to express what we feel. Now, in the case of me expressing anger and her expressing sadness, she's crying and I'm yelling. Suddenly, I've become a villain.
That's right.
It's so interesting.
Yep.
I saw a viral tweet yesterday. It was someone Googling.
Yeah, absolutely, Amagad, 100%. You have to control your emotions to control when and how they let out. Don't bottle it the fuck up till it becomes a problem, but fucking control it. It's hard. Well, like the way you control your emotions in public is by dealing with them by yourself. And that's why there are people who say, I can't sit alone all the time. They're constantly out in public. They're constantly talking to people because they can't sit alone with their thoughts. And that's the most important fucking time to sit with your thoughts. That's when you're supposed to deal with everything internally, when there's nobody else around. That's the most important time. I know I get all fucking worked up and shit on camera, right? I get worked up about this kind of stuff when I talk to people in real life, but this isn't me bottling shit up. I'm just very impassioned on this subject, right? When you're by yourself, that is the point. When I can't sit with my thoughts because my thoughts are going crazy, blah, 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 that's the most important time for you to try and deal with them. Okay? And there's lots of texts. I'm talking thousands of years of texts of people speaking on this very subject. This is the most important time for you to start working on that. I'm not saying don't ever go out, but I'm saying so you don't freak the fuck out and act a fool when you're out in public, deal with your shit internally when you're by yourself. I'm not the master of emotional control or anything, but it's a very simple concept. Am I wrong?
My wife is yelling at me, what should I do? And then my husband is yelling at me, what should I do?
Yeah, and the wife, it's like, call the police. It's like, this person's terrible.
Yeah. Ms. Kiff's yeah, dude, Ms. Kiff's such a fucking snake, dude. You can tell. He's and like I'm not even trying to jump on the like, oh, Emaru's in the right train or nothing, bro. But like just the way that he responded to all this was such a fucking joke. What's up, Amagad? Let's hear it. I'm willing to listen. Yeah, isolation and solitude are two very different things. 100%, yes. Absolutely. When I am home and the kids go to bed and the wife is sleeping, I go out to the living room, I start to read the Bible, and I start to commune with God and seek his guidance to fix my problem. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like if your way of dealing with your internal struggles... Fair. I'll give you that. I have God in my life. So when I'm by myself, that's when I deal with all of my internal shit. Because that's when I'm with God. And I'm not saying I'm not with God around, but that's when it's the most intimate relationship I have with God, is when I'm by myself. And that's when I can handle all the shit going on inside. Right? So I try not to, it's funny, me and Stamy were actually talking on the phone about this. Yes, absolutely, Amagad. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah. But me and Stamy were actually talking about this, I really try not to drink about my problems. Because if I'm drinking about my problems, God's completely cut out of the equation. Right? Now, granted, sometimes I'm not drinking about my problems, but they come out when I'm drunk and I'm by myself. But it's all this shit's a learning curve, man, for me, I'm still learning everything now.
And then the husband is like, what did you do wrong? Yeah.
Googled, my husband is yelling at me, what should I do? Domestic violence helpline comes up as like a Google pop-up.
Oh!
When you Google, my wife is yelling at me, what should I do? Nothing comes up.
Damn. Yeah.
Because obviously, as you said, in the case of villainization, I know that most domestic violence comes from men, but it's interesting that we see the emotion.
Yeah, Scott, that's what they're saying, dude. Like what they're saying is like the emotions that are like societally acceptable are women's emotions. So a man should go out and cry and be a little bitch around everybody constantly and just talk through his own problems, when the way I learn is by somebody sitting me down and going, you're fucking up. You're doing something wrong and you need to change it. That's what's always worked for me. That's how I was raised. It didn't help a drug addiction, but the drug addiction was different. You know what I mean? Just saying try to solve your own problems without God is a bad idea. Based. Absolutely. I 100% agree. No, that was a good point, Amagad, for sure.
Interpret the emotions entirely differently.
Well, just because a lot of domestic violence, and especially like death, right, is going to come from men because men are bigger and stronger, that doesn't mean that it doesn't also happen to men. That's the problem, is that just because something is statistically less common doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Like, let's say it's 80-20. That means it happens 20% of the time. That's an insanely huge number. Men don't report it as much? Yeah, they don't. Well, because of, remember that ratchet fucking hoe, Nina? where she said, oh, well, like, you know, are you really being a man if you actually are complaining about being sexually assaulted? That's the type of toxic shit that is actually super bad. And I think we should just get rid of that completely.
And let's be real, dude. If she got raped, she would be in tears in front of a camera the next day. So, like, I always try to look at it through that lens, right? Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't be if that happened in a vacuum, okay? But what I'm saying is, like, people will totally cast they'll project the things they dislike about themselves onto others very, very quickly. And it happens a lot.
Should be embarrassed. Yeah, exactly. Yes, dude. I don't know. Like, I look, I know I don't want to get in. Looks like a girl to me, but I have no idea.
Because of that.
Absolutely, right? So we as a society will say like, oh, men need to be in touch with their emotions, but not anger. And then this is what really screws men, because as men, we are socialized and conditioned to only feel anger. This is the only emotion you are allowed to feel as a man growing up. And this is the one emotion that gets demonized when you're older.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a simple example. So like I used to get bullied a lot, right? So when I get bullied in school, like what am I supposed to do, Stephen?
In school? Well, it depends.
Stab them.
No. When I was a kid, I got bullied a lot because I was heavier set, right? And my mom, and this is going to be a long roundabout story, so I'll just say my granddad gave me some advice that some people don't think is very good, and I think it was fantastic because it worked very well. My granddad told me, if anyone ever says anything that hurts your feelings or makes you feel less than, you just punch them in the nose. And make sure you do it in front of everybody. I didn't get bullied after I did that the first time. That doesn't make me a hard ass. I'm not trying to act like I was Mr. Tough or whatever. But the second I did that, and I did it in front of everybody, no one ever fucked with me again. You get a lot of friends very quickly, too. It's interesting. Anyway.
You can fight back.
Absolutely, right? It's fighting back.
That's right.
Like you didn't say talk to the teacher.
That's what my dad told me to do. No, in 8th grade, like there would be a kid try and put his hand in my pocket, and like I told my dad about it. He's like, just stab him. And I'm like, okay. I just got a fork and I stabbed it right in him. I broke it off in his skin. Never did that shit again.
Right. It works. It works.
You didn't say ask for help. You didn't say cry about it, because if I cry about it, what's going to happen, Stephen?
It's going to ramp up.
Absolutely. So we turn every emotion. So men experience anger as something called an umbrella emotion. We literally suppress and are conditioned to suppress all other emotions except for anger. And then if you talk to men about their experience of life, anger is always the first thing that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Someone breaks up with you. How do you feel about it? Do you feel ashamed? No, that's not what we say. I feel pissed off. How could she do this to me? And then
I generally actually don't get mad. Like it's rare for me to get angry. It happens, but like I try to avoid it as much as possible, because I've felt like I look back in my life and I say, when was the last time I made a good decision when I was mad? I remember. Never. I've never made a good decision when I was mad.
I have anger issues, but that's besides the point. I needed to hear that, I think, guys.
We vent that anger on the internet, and then this turns into misogyny, right? And then we get demonized for it. And it's not that there isn't... we should be harshly judged if we act on
But why
those...
is it that women can go on the internet and talk all this shit on men, see how horrible men are, how bad men are, but if men criticize toxic feminine behavior, we're seen as we hate women and all this bullshit? That's the reason why. That's the problem isn't that you can't do it. The problem is there's a double standard.
Yeah, right.
Kinds of emotions. I'm not...
That's like if a woman hauls off and hits you, tough it up. But when you fucking put her on her ass when she hits you, you're the bad guy.
Think that that's the case.
Yep.
But what we
That's
also need
it.
to consider is that the men who are saying these kinds of toxic things are saying that for a reason. This is because of their
Yeah.
upbringing. This is because of the world that they lived in, right? So we're conditioned to only experience anger. Even sadness gets turned into anger. Shame gets turned into anger. Fear gets turned into anger, right? So if I'm afraid of something happening, what do I need? I need to man up, get angry, right? Like, let's go, son, let's go.
Yeah.
This is the emotion that we tap into to overcome fear. So we don't feel any of those other emotions, and we're left only feeling anger.
At the very heart of aggression, I heard someone say to me once that at the very heart of aggression is some kind of insecurity. But for men, when they encounter that insecurity, they only know how to sort of manifest it as aggression.
So I wouldn't.
God, this guy sounds like such a fucking non-TOS word, right? Oh, aggression is just insecurity. Say that to Genghis Khan. Okay? Are you serious? Say that to Muhammad. You think that was insecurity?
Agree with the first thing, that at the heart of all anger is insecurity, but I would absolutely agree with the second thing, that the only way we know how to respond is with anger. Because
Here's the exact quote, just found it. The source of aggression is insecurity. As we are unconsciously aware that our position in life is never secure, people feel increasingly insecure and helpless, so they will be increasingly aggressive and confrontational at a personal and a social level.
So let's tunnel down into that for a second. Okay, so I think that is true on some level, but also I would disagree. So the first thing is that we have parts.
I don't think it's insecurity. I think it's scarcity, and scarcity drives insecurity. Scarcity is generally what I think is the root of almost all problems that people have, is some form of scarcity, and understanding what that form is will solve their problem. I mean, obviously there's no 100%, but that's it.
Of our brain, even animals feel anger. But I think that when two dogs are fighting over territory, I don't think that's born of some kind of identity of insecurity, right? So if we really look at the evolutionary purpose of anger, this is my opinion, is that anger is the emotion that we feel to protect our territory. It's a protective emotion. So if I slap you across the face, what's the first thing that you're going to feel? It's going to be anger.
Yeah.
So if I insult you, you're going to feel angry. It's fascinating the way that it works. So anger causes our thoughts to be faster. Anger causes our peripheral vision to collapse to 30 degrees. So I only see what's in front of me.
This is what happened. This is the reason why I can't play competitive games, is because I get mad and then I play like shit.
Yep.
That's exactly.
Oh yeah, dude. Once I get tilted in a video game, it's fucking over. Done. Not happening anymore.
Exactly right. That's 100% what happens. And I know it about myself. That's the worst thing, is I know that about myself. I know I'm crashing out while I'm crashing out.
Yeah.
And it also makes me less sensitive to pain. So my nociceptors will actually start to be suppressed when I feel angry, right? So if I get into a fight, I'm going to feel it tomorrow, but while I'm getting hit, I'm not going to feel
adrenaline.
So I don't think it's born of all insecurity. I think anger is simply an evolutionary response.
Yeah.
It's something that we experience to protect ourselves. That's why we feel angry, right? So if I attack baby bear, mama bear is going to come out angry.
Yeah.
So it's really a protective emotion. Now, I agree with the second part of the statement 100%, that when we feel insecure, especially as men, the only way we are taught to deal with our problems is through anger, right? So if I'm feeling insecure, if I'm feeling ashamed of myself, if someone's bullying me, what do? I put them in their place,
Yep.
right? I don't try to make peace. I don't complain to someone because no one's going to take me seriously,
Yep.
right? I have to stand up.
Dina Sex, Amy.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody that cries about it or acts like a victim, people hate them and they make fun of them, meme on them, and all kinds of shit like that. Absolutely. Totally
We've
true.
got the first point there about how we
Completely
remedy this
true.
challenge, which is about self-expression, more self-expression. That's what I heard.
Not self-expression, introspection.
Introspection, getting to know ourselves.
Right. So it's very simple. So if you look at your idea of what it means to be a man, what percentage of that idea comes outside of you? And what percentage of that idea comes from within you?
About 90% comes from outside of me.
And that's why 90%.
I never even thought about what it means to be anything, bro. I just went and I did whatever the fuck I want whenever I was a kid. That was the way I looked at it. Like, I never really, this might be weird, but like, I never really looked for a role model. I never really looked for anybody to like base what I would do off of. I just pretty much grew up and I just did whatever the fuck I wanted, and I didn't care about what anybody else thought for any reason.
See, I did the exact same thing, but it fucking destroyed my life. Some people can do that. If that's what gets you by, if the stars align for you to be able to do that in a way that's conducive with a constructive lifestyle for you, I'm not going to tell you you need to do what I do. But damn, cuz, let me tell you, God has done immense things in my life. Isn't it telling that we're not taught how to have a good long marriage? Based. That's based. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Healthy relationship 101 should be a fucking middle school class.
Like, even if like my parents were really disappointed or mad at me,
or a high school
class,
class.
like it would not even register to me.
There's a reason I'm not in the school board.
It would just be like, okay, well, who cares what you think? You know, this is just me. You know, like, I'm gonna do what I want. That was me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, look up to yourself. Yeah, so you're spoiled? Really? I mean, I wouldn't say spoiled. It's just that I never considered other people's approval as valid or important. Because in a lot of cases, I never considered a lot of other people valid or important. The only person that mattered was me.
People,
That's the
we're
truth.
90% fucked.
I'll just be honest.
Right? So, and if you look, and I'm sure you know this, and you've probably done this too, if you look at where is the goodness in your life, where does it come from, Stephen? It doesn't come from what other people have told you. They may have told you something, but then you looked within yourself and then you found that to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goodness in you, the
Most humble
motivation,
streamer?
the
Yeah.
really good motivation in you, not chasing things, but the duty that you have, you know, everything that you really strive for, all that good stuff comes from inside you. And the problem is that we live in a world that pulls our attention away from ourselves.
What do you think of Andrew Tatism then?
So
pulled attention. I think also like people just, they never really stop to think about how they feel, and they never really stop to think. People constantly are looking for like another type of stimulation rather than trying to use their own mind to have any sort of calmness at all. And like, I think that's really what it is for a lot of people. And that's what it's been for me in a lot of cases too. Also, is that like if I can just lay down and just relax and just do nothing, I can kind of like recenter my brain. And I think that like after I do a stream, for example, it can be tiresome to do a stream. I know, you know, people are, oh, streaming is easy. Sure, yeah, it is. But like, imagine talking nonstop for 5 hours with like 2 30-second breaks, and you're constantly reading things. Like, there's a lot of mental energy that goes into that.
Yo, he's not lying, by the way. He is totally on point with that. When I was doing like consistently like 5-hour streams every single day back when my knee was hurt, after a stream, I just wanted to lay on my couch and watch TV for the rest of the night. I didn't want to go and like communicate with people. I didn't want to be social. I needed to block myself off for a bit, you know? Like, he's not lying about that for sure.
Right? And it's like there's never even like 2 seconds that you can like lose focus. So you have a lot of like, it's not physically taxing in a way, but like there's a mental like tax that has.
Yeah.
And so like whenever I stop and you decompress, it can feel very, very good to do that.
Yeah.
As a general rule, I don't comment on people that I don't speak to. So tell me the features of what you're talking about.
Okay, so the recent wave of internet masculine influencers who have
internet dads, that's really what it is. It's just, you know, internet dads,
Bugattis and lots of women and sports cars, and there's many of them, and they seem to be resonant for some kind of reason, that are kind of saying that the way to be a man is to have loads of money, lots of women, these kind of cars, physical strength, and there's just this huge sort of generation of young,
Amy, it does.
typically men, that are now disciples of that.
And commitment too, you know. I think one of the things that's really kind of like, I don't want to say killed the growth of my channel, because my channel's still growing thanks to you guys, but I think one of the big things like for me is maintaining the level of commitment to continue to get up and stream. You know, there's There's some days when I don't want to get on here and fucking stream. I just want to fucking lay down and not do anything, you know? But I want to build this channel into something. Eventually, I want this channel to be something that I can, like, potentially even live on, dude. That'd be cool, man. You know? So it's kind of just one of those things, you know?
Religion.
Yeah. So I think if you dislike that toxic masculinity, what we need to understand is it's the people who hate that toxic masculinity that are driving these people towards it. So I know this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So what's happened is this has grown, right? And as it's grown, what have we done? We've demonized these people. We've said these people are bad. And as we demonize them, what's happened? They've grown stronger. So this is something that's very important to understand. If you are a man and you say, I am suffering today, what is the response that you're going to get?
Shut up.
Shut the fuck up, pussy ass bitch. That's the way it is. It's going to get worse.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Not in those exact words, but that's whatever the words are, that's what they mean.
Now, I want us to be very, very careful, right? So if you are listening to Steven say people tell you to shut up, and your first thought as a listener is, no, that's not true, that's the problem. So if people agree with you, they understand what you're saying. But if they disagree with you, that's the problem. We literally have a man who is telling us right now that your experiences when I say I'm suffering, people tell you to shut up. And then
they invalidate the way that you feel. This is a huge problem on the internet where people aren't allowed to feel certain ways. And any sort of emotion that a person's going to have in one direction is categorized as problematic or bad in one way or another.
Yes, you have a penis and you don't call yourself a woman, so your life is easy. That's how it's viewed by lots and lots of people. And it's also in the opposite. There are a lot of guys who they look at a woman and they say, you have a vagina and you don't call yourself a man, so your life is easy. And at the end of the day, if we're being honest, life is not easy. Life is tough for everybody, right? And unless people can kind of like come to that basic agreement, we're not going to be able to really communicate properly on any level. Life's tough for everybody, whether you're rich or poor or what, right? Like I know when sometimes when I look at people who have a bunch of money and I think, damn, dude, if I was only in that position. But then when I talk to people that have money, I start to come to the realization that, well, you really don't have like friends, because every person you meet is trying to stick their hand in your wallet, and that can be tough. I don't know how I would deal with something like that. I have true, genuine friends. People are my friend because, you know, I'm a friend to them, right? But I really don't have much to give monetarily to anybody. So no one's really trying to like get anything from me, you know? But if I was in a position where I had things for people to get, that would change everything. And this isn't me like decrying the woes of the rich or anything, but I like, just for perspective, people who have shitloads of money have very hard times trusting people because of how many people act like they're friends so they can get something from them. And that's it. That's it. That's the extent of the friendships that they have. So keep that in mind, you know?
We're going to be judging you for saying that. And they're going to be saying, no, that's not true.
They're going to be saying, shut up.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So this is exactly the problem. So men are struggling right now, and the rest of the world says, no, you're not. You're privileged. You're a man. There's a patriarchy. And I'm not commenting on the sociology of it. There is a patriarchy, whatever. Men have many advantages in life. I've experienced many advantages of being a man. Of course. It's absolutely true. Let's not go there. I'm talking about the individual experience of men. So there is one group of people on the planet who says, yes, your life does suck. And that's these toxic masculine people. They're the only people.
Yeah, they're the ones that are listening. They will enable you. Absolutely.
That truly validate men's experiences. Because everyone else says, why are you complaining? And these guys say, yeah, you're a fucking loser. What are you going to do about it? They at least meet you where you're at. and they say, yes, your life is hard, and I will show you a way to make it better. Whereas the rest of the world says, no, your life isn't hard. What are you complaining about?
Yeah, the original sin of being born a man and feeling emotions is never going to work. It's never going to win over men. And it is a narrative that's been created by Karens that hate men. That's basically it. It's Karens that hate men. They hate masculinity. They have some problem with their fucking ma or their dad or their brother or their boyfriend or something like that. And they've demonized all of this, like, just all the way through. And I think that that's also another, there is a huge amount of animosity that I think young men have towards that.
And I've seen this as a doctor. I've seen patients who are complaining
Men have an
about
advantage, but you can't explain that to someone who's poor and struggling. Well, men have advantages that women don't have, and women have advantages that men don't have.
Yes.
Right? So it's kind of like in classic WoW. So
someone else's suck doesn't make my suck not suck. That's really what it comes down to, right? And when we can understand that we all have differing levels of hardship in life, we'll be able to meet each other on a more basic, even scale. But people who have grown up with everything being handed to them, who don't understand financial struggle, they may have social struggle, they may have, emotional struggle, whatever. They don't understand what financial struggle is, and they don't understand what, lack of financial or lack of money struggle. They feel like they understand that, but they don't understand what the kind of struggles you go through when you have a lot of money. They don't understand the bits and bobs with all that. So they immediately think if you have money, your life is just amazing. And that's not the case. Be it more comfortable? Yes. You don't have issues in certain places? Yes, correct. But there are still lots of struggles that rich people go through. So I'm not saying let's all feel sorry for rich folks and give them a hug or something. What I'm saying is they're just fucking people, man. And we all have issues in life. Life is tough. Life is hard, right? Find God, find Christ. That is a good starting point when it comes to moving forward and living your life in a fulfilling way, But trying to fill the void with hatred for people that you don't understand is going to lead you nowhere.
Women are like hunters and men are like warriors, where women have like a
video
very
game
good
references.
leveling build. And I think that they level up, like, you're level 30, you're level 24 as a hunter. You can solo all kinds of things. You can do all kinds of stuff and you're very efficient. Whereas like if you're a warrior, you've got to fight one mob at a time and then sit down and eat and drink. But by the time you get to level 60, then, your top damage and the hunters can't even do shit. The only thing they're there for is to give you aspect of the pack so you can run to the next mob to kill it. That's it. And so, like, that's the difference between, like, I think the experience that, like, young men have. Because, like, whenever you're a young guy, right? How many of you guys had this experience? You're a young guy, you're 20 years old, you're about 20 years old, and you have a resentment for women because you feel like women have it a lot easier, right? Well, women have it so much easier than men. It's not fair that she gets these opportunities and I don't. She's making all this money and I'm not. She has this guy that, is paying for her stuff and I don't have this. But then you get older and now you're, let's say, 31. And that same girl is saddled with a kid from this guy that left her, and she's living by herself and it sucks for her. And her life is awful at this point. And it's just going to get worse.
The chat is just grilling this bitch that he's talking about right now. And I don't know if he's necessarily like speaking about someone in particular, but man, that chat is brutal. He's calling us out. Yeah. Right, no shit, dude. Exactly.
And so that's really kind of what happens. Is that I think that a lot of young men haven't seen that life progression happen, where a lot of the privileges that young women have are privileges for young women. And the majority of your life, you will not be young if you're lucky. And so because of that, those privileges erode And that's never a lot of the advantages. That's the late game scaling, right? That's the, level 55 warrior that's out damaging level 60 hunter. There it is. Yeah, men scale way better than women do. They do. It's just the way it is.
Oh, yes, 100%. Dude, I will say, when I was in my 20s, and maybe this was all in my head, but I felt like, the women that I really wanted, right? Like there were chicks, but there were women that I really wanted that wouldn't give me the time of day. But now that I'm in my 30s, there are good-looking women that look and like I when I look at myself, right? Like I'm kind of fat. I'm not like morbidly obese, but I'm kind of fat. I'm a dad bod, right? Like I don't work out the way I used to. I don't take care of myself the way I used to. I notice more attention now that I'm in my 30s. Like, my hair is going gray and like, I don't shave my neck beard as much as I should. Like I just buzz it down and shit, It's just interesting, how like now I'm at this point where I'm probably getting the most attention from women I've ever gotten in my life, and I'm really like not in good shape and I don't really take care of myself. It's wild, man.
About pain. Women who are complaining about pain because they have an internal bleed within the wall of their uterus that cannot get detected. And they're saying, I'm hurting, and we ignore this person's pain. And that's when things go bad. So for years and years and years, we have ignored the struggles of men. And there's one group on the planet who accepts them with open arms. And the more that we demonize them, so when someone...
All right, so this is my little tip, okay? When it comes to dealing with a woman on her period that you're in a relationship with, because, I'm sure every guy realizes when a woman's on her period, it can be kind of a struggle. We don't really understand what they go through, yada, 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 whatever. Just make sure your earbud is in the ear that's facing away from her. It's helped me quite a bit. That's all I got to say.
Someone starts believing in this toxic masculinity, what is the response?
This is also this is like a precursor of why I think a lot of men are becoming right-wing. This is why I think you're having such a massive distinction between like young men and young women becoming more right-wing. And the reason why is very simply because at least Nick Fuentes agrees with you that things are against you, right? He listens. He doesn't just call you a loser, right? Like that's basically it. And that's why a lot of young guys are turning towards those types of role models, those types of characters. Yeah, right-wing makes more sense now? Yeah, exactly.
Do people ever ask, like, help me understand what your life is like? Like, what do you like about this person? Because everyone's going to them for a reason, but we never bother to ask, why are you listening to this person? What does this mean to you? We see these posts all the time in our community. My boyfriend is getting into this stuff. My son is getting this stuff. How do I stop it? Hold on a second. Don't try to stop it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the problem, that you never even considered why he's getting into it. You never even considered his feelings. Maybe that's the reason why he's getting into it in the first place.
Understand it first. Because everyone's trying to stop it and no one is bothering to listen to what the experience of these men are. And that's why it's getting worse and worse and worse as we try to stop it.
So if I'm the mother of a son who is watching a lot of these sort of toxic male influences online, what would be a better approach versus just banning the computer and telling them that that's toxic and not to look at it?
Help me understand what you like about this.
Yeah.
What is it like to be a man in today's day and age? How do you feel about yourself? How does it feel knowing that?
And the reason why parents don't want to do this is because this takes time, thoughtfulness, and intelligence. It's a lot easier than just say, oh, you're not using that computer anymore. You're going to look up all more of that crazy Hitler stuff. That's it.
That 70 to 80% of women want you to make more money than them, and yet 60% of people who graduate from college are women. So men are living in a world today where there are impossible expectations to meet. And so like, what is it like to be someone who fundamentally has no chance at success? Right? These are the kinds of
This is the reason why a lot of guys feel this way, is they feel like they don't really have the opportunities. And also, I think that there's like definitely, I think dating apps really create this mentality where it is like the top 10% of guys are seen as the ones that are able to hook up with all of these girls and having access to, you know, having a pretty girlfriend or something like that. And I think that's also very, very tremendously negatively affected, like, I guess, like the way that men see the world. That's been really, really problematic.
You want to hear something funny? All right, so this happened last night, and it made me feel like such a good fucking friend. All right, so this dude, Andrew, this dude that comes into my bar all the time, he's a good guy. He's a firefighter, bro. Got big respect for that. Anyway, so this dude came in, and he just kind of sits at the bar, and he doesn't bother nobody. He's a really nice guy, though. And so I was sitting there bullshit with him for a little bit, and then these two girls came in, and they were like, you know, about 5-6 years younger, maybe 4 or 5 years younger than me. And he's like 24, okay? So they're like creeping up on 30. And I was over on that side of the bar, and, you know, I was like, hey, how you doing? You know, whatever, yada, yada. And I made them their drinks. And I had more people coming in and coming up to the bar, and they kept asking me questions about, like, where to find, you know, single guys, when do single guys come into the bar, yada, yada. And they were kind of, like, starting to annoy me because I got shit going on. Like, can you not fucking see what I'm doing? I didn't want to say it like that. So I was like, I don't know. Hold on. I'll talk to you in a second, right? So I start getting out the people's drinks, and I'm like punching my stuff in. I'm printing tickets. I'm doing all that. And then I remember looking over and seeing my buddy down at the end of the bar. And I walked down there, and I was like, hey, bro, you're not seeing anyone tonight, are you? And he was like, nah. And I was like, you see those two chicks down at the end of the bar? He was like, yeah. And I was like, bro, they're trying to fuck. You need to go talk to them. And he, you know, he was like, I don't know, man, but I'm kind of too chicken. And I was like, whatever, bro. Okay, fine. So like I walked down there, and I knew, like, when I get back down here, they're probably going to start asking me questions again, whatever, right? So I just wanted to nip it in the bud. And I put my elbows up on the bar, and I was like, y'all like firefighters? And the blonde chick, her ears perked up, and she went, yeah. And I went, you see that dude down there with the hat and the mustache? And she went, yeah. And her friend goes, oh, you've been eyeing him all night. And I was like, dude, go fucking talk to him. My boy hitched her last night, dude. He hitched her. I felt so happy for my man, bro. You know what I mean? And I solved two problems at once. My homie got laid, and then I got those annoying bitches off my fucking bar. It was fantastic, dude. Love it when a good plan comes together, bro.
Things that you need to
more like 0.1%. I mean, like maybe I don't know. Like I've never had a dating app before in my life. To be honest with you, I haven't. So I don't know what it's like. But from everything that I hear, it's horrible. And also, like, the women's experience is also really bad too. But it's just a different set of problems. Instead of getting no matches, you get 40 matches of 40-year-old men whenever you're 19.
To these people,
and they're fat.
Give them an alternate place to go where they can be heard and helped, supported, and understood. See, anytime we make a judgment, our mind already has a conclusion.
Yeah.
There's nothing left to learn. Anytime we're judgmental. So what do we do to all these people who are toxic men? We even create the word toxic. We literally label them as bad in some way. And I'm not saying that
it's a very simple idea. There's a word for toxic male behavior, but there's not a word for toxic female behavior. It's pretty simple. I mean, really think about it.
Behavior isn't toxic. But what I'm trying to point out is that even in our language, there is so much harsh judgment.
Yeah.
So I once had a patient.
We both just did it, didn't we?
Absolutely. So I once had a patient who was smearing
Karen,
feces.
and I'm trying to do it
all over the school. So adolescent kid.
What?
Right? And when you have a kid who's
Fucking
literally taking a
based.
shit and
There it
wiping
is.
it on the walls and stuff, what
Yeah.
happens? The kid gets punished. Kid gets punished again and again and again. The one really sad thing is no one ever asks, why are you doing this?
Yep.
What's going on inside you? Because healthy kids don't do this.
I would say that's generally true.
It's only kids who've been traumatized in some way.
Yeah.
And as I've worked with incels, as I've worked with people who are toxically masculine, it always starts with trauma. And when I say always, it is a clinical experience, but I'm talking about 100%. So 100% of people start on this path by getting hurt in some way, by getting taken advantage of in some way, by
I really hate the word trauma. I mean, I understand they have like a clinical definition of it and it plays parts and all sorts of things, but maybe I was just raised old school, so I have an old school mindset on things, but like you have to deal with stuff in a healthy way. And trauma, at least in the way that it's perceived and talked about in a very widespread, like colloquial way these days, is just unresolved and undealt with shit in your past, right? And now it's gotten to this point where when people talk and they say the word trauma, they use it as if, well, I have trauma, so I'm going to take this ball and chain and shackle it to my leg and carry it around with me for the rest of my life, instead of just dealing with the ball and chain. Instead of leaving it where it is, they shackle it to themselves and they walk through life with it. Now, I'm not saying shit doesn't happen to people that's extra, right? I'm not saying there's not stuff that really fucks people up. What I'm talking about is the colloquial use of the word trauma these days.
Yep, villain origin story. There it is. Remember that kid the other day that got mad about me making a joke about his fan art? 5 years, bro. That dude was sitting on it for 5 years.
Yeah, he was.
Let that cook, and then finally he just let that shit out. Yep.
Something and not getting something in return. And they have their share of responsibility too. I'm not saying that they're hapless victims, but I think that people who are raised with love and compassion and do have connections don't go down this road.
It's much less common.
You're so passionate about this, aren't you? Because I feel like your eyes have seen in your practice.
Well, because you see a bunch of fucking people kill themselves and you actually try to help them and then it doesn't work. I mean, that's the reason why. I mean, you've got to be passionate about it. I mean, and it is really sad. It's tremendously sad. And I think it's going to get worse too.
Yeah.
Pretty heartbreaking things.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, see, unless we are willing to be what these people need, they're going to continue going down the toxic masculinity. Of
course.
Someone needs to start offering these people.
This is true too, is that like you can't just tell people, no, you're not allowed to think this. And then they all are like, oh shit. Oh my God.
Welcome back,
Let
brother.
me just do exactly what you tell me now.
Full safe haven.
Yeah. Obviously.
No matter what they say, or not no matter. I think there should be consequences for actions. But so this is as someone who's worked in a jail, right? So and this is what's kind of interesting if you really think about it. People will judge me for talking to or even trying to support people who are toxically masculine. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, you're such an asshole. You're giving these people a platform. How could you make the world a worse place? And then,
yep, there it is. Fucking Karens.
And I tell them I worked in a jail for 3 months, and they're like, "Oh, look at you! You're so compassionate. You're working with these people who are like criminals." And like, "Oh my God, I don't think they realize."
I wonder who's more toxically masculine: the murderer with face tattoos that is in jail for 20 years,
and who is raping other people who come into that prison, by the way,
or this content creator that says that women are whores, right? I mean, geez, guys, I wonder.
That anyone you see on social media is 10 times better than the people that I worked with in jail.
Yeah.
These are people who are actual pedophiles, actual rapists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not just talking about it. Maybe the people on social media are too. I don't know. And so it's really interesting the way that our mind automatically judges things. Mm-hmm. And so if we really want to fix this problem, and I think we need to fix this problem, it's just my take. I mean, I'm not I'm a big fan of like compassion and trying to support other human beings. I'm not saying that that's always the right answer.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you may need things like war or violence or whatever.
Sure.
And there may be causes for it. But generally speaking, I think that like demonizing these people isn't working.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do
It
me a
sure
huge
isn't.
favor. Become part of the
It's a good video.
15% of the viewers on this.
All right, boys. that'll be it. I'm gonna take a rest for the night. I'm still fucking sick. I'm still sick. I don't understand why I haven't fully gotten over this shit yet. It's absolutely crazy. I'm like sleeping and shit. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. I mean, I had to go to work and stuff the past. At least I got to work the last week. Let me tell you, I got fucked the week before, dude. I was out all week. Anyway, that'll be it, guys. Thank you all very much, man. Scott Hotvet, Stamey. We got Amagad. We got Ag. We got... Who else we got? Ashton Allwine. Always, bro. Always appreciate seeing you around, my dude. Who else we got in here? I know Arby Not Men was in here earlier. You guys are the bomb, dude. I really appreciate y'all being here, man. I'm gonna go lay back down. Thanks for being around, though, bro. It was a good stream. Had fun. We got to watch some funny shit and talk some shit.